Jefferson County Grand Jury at 15, September 21st. Still have Jeff Paul. Detective Paul, part of your investigation, does that include reviewing all of the interviews of the, first of all, the 7 officers that have been conducted, and then some others?
Yes.
So, go ahead and begin with the first interview.
Yes, the first interview we're going to listen to today is with Sergeant John Adderley. This interview was conducted on March 25th. It was conducted by the Louisville Metro Department Public Protection Unit.
Holy
She
shit.
also conducted the interview by Sergeant Amanda Seeley and Sergeant Jason Vance. March 25th.
In the back, you can raise your hand, make sure you can hear it well.
Sergeant Amanda Seeley of the Louisville Metro Police Department's Public Integrity Unit. Today's date is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. The current time is 12:55 hours. We are present at 3672 Taylor Boulevard at the Public Integrity Office. This will be a recorded statement from Sergeant John Mattingly. The statement is in reference to PIU case number 20-019. Present with me are Sergeant John Mattingly, Attorney Steve Shorey, and Sergeant Jason Vance of the Public Integrity Unit. Sergeant, are you ready to statement the video and audio taped?
Yes.
This is Steve for approval.
Yes.
Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Jonathan Mattingly, Mattingly.
What is your code number?
2465.
And where you currently assigned?
CID interdiction swap.
How long have you been with that unit?
Up in that narcotics before they changed or since they changed it?
Either.
No narcotics since November 2016.
And how long have you been with the department?
Since June 2000.
Are you under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other intoxicants at this time?
No.
Are you taking any kind of medication that would affect your judgment or ability to take therapy?
No.
The next 4 questions are for the emergency. We have the incident night on March 13th at Swim Club Drive about your vehicle. Did you sustain any injuries during this situation?
Yes.
Please describe.
Sustained a gunshot wound to the upper left thigh, and it tore through the femoral artery and exited out the back of the leg.
You received medical treatment.
Did
Where and by whom?
University of Louisville Hospital about the trauma team, or several doctors up.
What type of uniform or clothing were you wearing at the time of this incident?
You shouldn't give me from like the bottom up what I had on or something. Had a black Under Armour boots on, gray pants, a black 3/4 zip Nike pullover, and I had my tactical vest on, so facing front and back. But
You have the same uniform or clothing on right now?
no,
Because the sexual requirements KRS 67C 326, I have made value of the constitutional rights credits, and maybe any further questions. Rights, we are already over this. In the town of public place, 3650 Boulevard.
While she's doing that, just kind of mention we actually changed the KRS that we're referencing. Yeah, it's not 15.20 anymore, it's because Louisville's a first class city. And most of the brought our attention, we just changed it, but it's the same purposes.
Before you answer your question, you must understand your right. You have the right to remain silent. And then you can say anything you say can will be against you in court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer prior to any question or making of any statements, and you have been present with you while you're being questioned. You cannot afford to hire a lawyer or be appointed by the court to represent you before questioning, if you desire. You may stop the question or making of any statements at any time, or refusing to answer further or by requesting to consult with an attorney prior to continuing the questioning or making of any statements. I have read this statement with my rights, and I understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement and answer questions. I do not want to, so read that, sorry.
It's a preamble of the LMP rights letter.
I understand no that the promises or threats have been made to me, no pressure or coercion of any kind of investigation.
And all it says is basically you're agreeing to those items.
Sergeant Ingram orders the incident that occurred at 3003 Springfield Drive, Department 4. 13. Words of what happened and your involvement.
We're executing a search warrant for one of the units of the CMP, space base. And about 45 minutes before we executed the warrant, I did a drive-by with my came out of the house. So I did a drive-by the apartment just to get my own visual to make sure that you were headed. When I came up to the door, there's two apartments. It's the second floor over. And there's a road that ran right in front of it. That's how we identified it. It's apartment 4 on the bottom floor on the right. So there's two doors looking directly at us, two on the side. It's the one on the inside on the right. Went back and we geared up. And it's time to swap. Doing everything, got 2-4 Madison. We went over. We executed over at the same time. I was the first already on scene. When we got there was a vehicle that hadn't been there prior to coming through. It was a 2004 Toyota Sequoia, white and cream color. Pulled behind it, and fixed my vehicle. And that cleared that car, make sure nobody was in it since prior. That time I was in front of it, between the cars, we made our approach to the apartment. When you go up, you have the doors on the right, there's a stairwell. It goes right over the top of it. I circled all the way to the back since I was going to be knocking on the door. So basically in front of the back door of the other apartment. It's just right side. When we all got in line, I knocked on the door, banged on it. We didn't announce first couple because our intent was not to hit the door. Our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door because they said she was probably there long. So we kind of predetermined to give her plenty of time to come to the door. Banged on the door, no response. Banged on it again, no response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves, please come to the door. Please get a search warrant. While we're doing this, there was a neighbor or somebody upstairs right on the staircase and started arguing with Detective Anderson and Lieutenant Hoover. And they were both giving commands to go back into his apartment. And he kept saying, I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying, something about leaving a girl alone or something like that. But while he was doing that, we were still announcing police, come to the door, police search warrant. We banged, probably banged on the door six or seven different time periods. Not 6 or 7 times, but 6 or 7 different times. It seems like we're turning the doorway. Probably lasted between 45 seconds and a minute. Banged on the door, and at that time I looked back at Lieutenant Hoover and he says, I guess go ahead and hit it. Because at one point, probably about the third time we banged, Mike stand at the door and he says, I can hear something inside, I think they come to the door, so we thought they'd come to the door. And then we didn't hear anything else, so we kept banging and announcing. And at that point, the Hoover said, go ahead and hit it. So I looked at Mike and said, go ahead. So he hits the first time, he hits right on the door handle, didn't move the door. And every time he hits, people announce, please search him, please search him. Second time he hits the good spot and almost knocks the door open. I could see the deadbolt at an angle, and I could see a crack in the door leading into the apartment. So I said, this was gonna go. So he hit the third time, and as soon as he hit the door, came open, please search warrant, search warrant. I go around the corner, I can see, I clear the living room on the right-hand side, where you can see the sliding glass door. As I turn the corner, as soon as I cleared the threshold of the front door, I could see down the hallway. My mind works so quick in situations over. Because as soon as I cleared it, I'm face on about probably 20 feet away, right down the hallway. There's a bedroom door on the right. There's a male and a female. The male's closest to the door, so it's to my right. And as I turn the doorway, he's in a stretched out position with his hands with a gun. As soon as I cleared, he fired. And it was almost like a shooting range with two things flipping at the same time. You got to shoot, no shoot. I mean, they were shoulder to shoulder. My mom's on the same right. Something's off here. It's all doors that I made entry. I've never seen this. And so I hit this corner and it goes boom. And as soon as the shot hit, I could feel the heat in my leg. And so I just returned fire. I got 4 rounds off. And it was like simultaneous. Boom, 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 boom. And then I went back and went down the side of the door and then reached around. I think I had 2 more off around the corner of the door. And then I could really feel the blood in my legs. So I reached out and felt it. My hand was full of blood. I knew it couldn't hit my femoral at that point. So I scooted back on my butt. I yelled at them, I've been hit my femoral. And I scooted back, and I think at that time Miles slid up. I'm not sure. I think he was over my other shoulder behind me. I'm not sure. I was Tony behind me. Mike was sitting right at the door with Breonna. It was Brett, Hoover, Campbell had come up around the corner at that point, on the stairs. So I'm assuming Miles was behind me because I think he was there in front of me. And so I slid back on my butt to get out of the line of fire. And for a second, I let go of my gun. And I realized what I did, so I just grabbed my gun and pulled it back. I was like, I can't stay here. So I stood up and I hobbled out across from the door and went to where the curb is, or stepped off in between the cars. And I guess Mike Campbell stumbled. I think he stepped back and shots fired, and soon fell off the curb. Because when I went to go through the cars, I looked down and was like, my mom's like, why are you on the ground? And I tripped over and fell off the curb or something. At that point, I holstered my gun and scooted to the edge of the car, and then Hoover came out and grabbed my vest from behind and pulled me. And that's it, as far as I need, the contact suspect. I do remember when I went on the ground, I don't remember anything right there in that doorway, a breezeway. I don't really remember shots fired because I remember I was thinking this. I was putting pressure on this, and I got to get that way. I do remember when I tripped, by the time I went out, I stepped off the curb and tripped over him. I remember as soon as I hit the ground and holstered, I could hear also boom, 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 several shots at that point. It seemed like that. And my mind couldn't commit tricks like that. I'm sure it was me. Because I was still by myself. And then as I scooted out, Hoover grabbed me, and it seemed like it got quiet after that. We get to the edge, and I said, man, I've been hitting my femoral, I need a tourniquet. So Hoover said, I don't have one. He grabbed his belt, and put it on, and he squeezed it, and I remember reaching out and said, it's not tight enough. I need a tourniquet. And about that time, Tony James showed up, kind of going back and forth, and he comes with me. He had on some this. He goes and puts his gloves on, and Hoover says, "Fuck your gloves," grabs the tourniquet, slides it on my leg. We start tightening it up. Somebody stepped on this, hit the first bounce, and I pushed on the leg. I can't really remember who it was, but I remember him squeezing it. I said, I need a knife to cut this off, see what's at. Somebody found a knife. The knife came out somewhere, and started cutting the leg off. Then I kept going. Did anybody call for any much? Because they're just a quarter mile down the road with that. Okay, well, where's EMS? And so I got my radio trying to call the it's stand off on channel 2 or channel, main channel was on. So it just got clicks and it went saying. Then I could hear, Breonna yell 10:30 on the radio. And as they're screaming that, I let back, I can hear him yell 10:30, then I hear the beat car getting there not too long after that. And I can remember who was saying, "Tim ran the gate." And so then Brad, I could hear him yelling on the radio, "Ran the gate." And then I hear the gate get ran. EMS still hadn't gotten there. I couldn't remember where's EMS. Where the fuck is EMS at? This because the pain went running shut up in the groin and the back. And I'm thinking, man, at this point, okay, we got to turn down good. Now we got to get this leg, glute leg. So at some point, EMS shows up. It seemed like forever, about moments. They finally showed up, and I remember them saying, "It's getting in your car and getting up." They kept saying, "Do you want to go in the car to Universal?" I knew EMS was so close, and they had stuff we did. So I was like, "No, let's just wait for them. They've got to be here." He said. And so finally, they show up. They say, "Throw him in my car." I said, "Throw him in my car." I remember walking to a car, so I'm not getting in the back seat because I knew my leg I couldn't get down and back up. And so I said, "Put him in the trunk." I remember hearing that, and the trunk was on. And who was like, "No," he went to shut the trunk. There was some gun kids in. I said, "Shut it in, put me on the trunk," or shut the trunk. Started picking me up, and Hoover has my legs, and the guy in the back didn't lift my back up right, and I almost went to the ground. Then he put some big, Hoover said, "Get underneath his arms." So they put me on the trunk. I'm holding on to it as we're driving toward the gate, and I saw the EMS guy walking toward me. I made contact with him prior to make sure they were our EMS drivers. And the young guy's walking toward me with his bag on his shoulder. And as I'm looking, I see the EMS wagon starts to back up the other way, leaving us. And I yelled at him and said, "Where the fuck is he going?" And he's like, I said, "Call him on the radio." He said, "I tried." He didn't answer. He said, "Try again." So he tried again, all of a sudden he stopped. And the EMS starts coming back. So we get up to the front to where the gate's at. And I'm not sure if the other guys went or what they were doing, but Hoover finally said, "Fuck it, hold on, my man." He scooped me up and he walked me around the car. Somebody pushed the gate down, we stepped over it. We got to the wagon, got in the back of the wagon.
We've got a couple photos the same. It's kind of reference. So photo 1 represents the entire area, and we'll just like sub-label the actual building of this in place we know it as A.
Okay.
We'll use B as the gate. This, we heard Jim say, I think we're going to use this photo kind of to make sure that we understand you correctly, as far as like how you came out. So this is photo 2. This is it's a closer look at the building. This is the breezeway and then the sidewalk, and there's kind of like a little handicap access point here, where the sidewalk connects, here's the parallels the building. And there's a step, or a couple of steps there. If you can, and obviously the cars in this photo will not represent the cars in it. We wanted, some kind of visual to understand everything happening. So the breezeway comes out, there's a set of stairs that goes to the second floor of the apartment building. As I understand what you said, you come out and you go between like this car, where this car's parked in the photo and this car's, and Campbell is falling down. Right.
Yeah, he's in between here, there's a car here. When I come out, step off this curb and go in between here. Pretty sure it's out because they're understanding more since I don't think I'll get veered out and go to the path and make sure this is here.
Okay. Now, just from working the scene and all that, we all know that there was a white SUV. You said you're sitting as well. Toyota Sequoia. Was your police vehicle parked immediately behind it? Directly behind it. And where would you? I'm gonna let you mark it. It doesn't have anything.
Right. The two start there to work.
Yeah, Sequoia and,
I'm pretty sure it's clear as a little further right here.
and then, so where do you think the first aid was given? I mean, if you had guessed.
So I would guess it's right here.
And at some point, the vehicle that you used, you talked about,
No, I'm sorry. It may have been, no, I came through the car and drove to somewhere else, came up from on this side or this side. I think it was out here. Yeah, because then Miles' car pulled up here.
right?
Yeah.
And you remember what kind of car it was?
His, Impala? No, Max. Not Max, it was on the low.
Nissan.
Yeah.
So they used that car, put you on the back on top of the deck road,
Right.
and kind of helping you
Instead of carrying you, I secured that far right.
because it's, you know, this first photo, I mean, it's
Pretty long.
yeah, it wouldn't be very efficient for someone to carry.
Yeah. So, and I held onto the block, there's like the radio we found, there's a black flag. I held on to that.
Okay, so they evacuate you to the skate here in the phone.
Correct.
And then at that point, as you said in your statement, Lieutenant Hoover had requested patrols and ran the gate to open it.
Right.
Because it got separated the property.
Yeah, trying to get EMS in here because he knew, he probably assumed at that point they would get confused if they came down and realized it doesn't match, you have to come all the way around.
Right, and it's an obvious, the most efficient way to evacuate.
Yes.
Correct. So they get you to the gate, and then they shuttle you into the ambulance, and some of them had others, some confusion, you know, communication issue between you guys and EMS.
Right.
And then you're transported to the hospital. I don't have a street view of the actual, you know, the front of the apartment, is probably because of this gate, the location gate, Google did not, they don't have a street view of this location. They actually don't have, you know, the aerial views of the point. So, to go back to when you guys, prior to you guys, you know, trying to manage, you stated that, you know, you guys knocked on the door, and your whole intentions were is to get the occupants in the house to come to the door.
Correct.
Now, what kind of information, if any at all, were you guys given in the pre-operational briefing?
We were told, that the target, the main target, the male, had packages sent to this location, home. She had possibly held up for him, received the packages, and held his money.
Okay. And do you remember the name of the target on the search warrant?
No,
Because it wasn't a search warrant that you or your people, your personnel are assigned to you,
right, we didn't write it, we didn't do the investigation, we did not.
and you guys were only there to assist, you know, you got multiple units within CID were trying to serve multiple.
Right, it was a heavy manpower intensive operation, they just need bodies.
Okay, other than, you know, what you just said, do you remember anything about the Breonna operation?
As far as for us on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, they said they did not believe she had children or animals, but they weren't sure. Said she should be there alone because they knew where their target was. And I guess they thought that he was her own boyfriend or only acquaintance. The whole time Mike watched the house, there was no change in lights coming on or off. The only thing he saw was the light in the bedroom and the TV.
So he was able to see some type of, some form of illumination.
From there,
Do you remember which window that was?
yeah, it was, this one, yeah, this one. I think it was that one, I'm not sure. One of the better, we were on the bedroom, so we went by, I remember seeing put up below, where we pulled up.
At the time, like, sorry.
I have no idea, when we briefed, he was already on scene, we briefed at 10 o'clock, we didn't hit it until 12:40, 35. At 12:35 on my phone, I was calling him, telling him we were pulling around the corner, we were gonna come in.
And Detective Campbell knew that it was part before he was given all the information.
Right.
Go back to, you know, you guys, your whole intentions were to have a hockey field, right? It's gonna be, and you characterized, you know, you were all knocking and announcing, initially it's just knocking, trying to see the door, which kind of, you know, initiates the upstairs residents to come out and make contact with you guys.
Right.
And you remember kind of what kind of verbal exchange?
Between the upstairs?
Yes.
I remember when he first popped out, Lieutenant Hoover kind of came to office a little ready to kind of up because they didn't know who was approaching him. I remember Brett extending his gun saying, get back in the apartment, get back in the apartment. Brett was a little bit worked up. And I remember at one point, because they kept exchanging, you know, while we're doing this, I remember looking at Brett saying, Brett, relax. Brett, just relax, relax. Because, you know, while you gotta pay attention to him, it's not your focus.
Right. And other than the obvious, you know, the police logos on your attack vest, I mean, did you all have them, you know, identify yourselves?
I don't know if they did or not. I don't know if they were sick with the police.
Because your focus was on the, you were at this point.
Yeah, I'm not physically knocking on that door, so I can't really pay attention to it.
It would be dangerous
Right.
for you not to stay focused on the door. I mean, we all know we refer to that as a fail phone. So, you know, at some point, Lieutenant Hoover decides that, you know, you guys have waited too long, or, you know, you've allowed you know, pretty sizable amount of time to go by.
More than enough time for the average person, or even the city person to get to the door.
Right.
That's small.
So the decision's made that you all are gonna force entry into So you kind of went through what Melrose did as far as how you can force that entry into the apartment. And you said you kind of split the power and you're declaring the immediate threat to your right and you come back to center, which is what we're trying to do. And at the point that you come back to center, how much exposure do you think you had as far as like blading that, you know, that whatever cover you can get in that entryway, which is not much.
Right. I blended the cover until I could until the hallway meets the door. You couldn't see any more from where I was standing. So at that point, I had to step out in front of the doorway into that clearance area. So
And that's when you see
that's
male and female almost parallel, or, you know.
yeah, they're perpendicular to each other, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, it was really, it almost like they were together. Again, my brain was going, what is this? You know, is it normal? It's not the normal way people would stand, you know, in the house together.
And talking about that hallway, was it illuminated?
It was enough where I could see him. I did not turn my gun light on, which I'm thankful, so that his gun wasn't more attractive where my light was. But when people had theirs on behind me, I could see it enough to see a male on the right, a female on the left. Could I identify the faces? No. But I could actually see the hand in his hand. I remember seeing the barrel of that as soon as we turned that corner. And as soon as it did, the flash and the heat.
And talking about, you know, that's instance, you know, your backdrop is an illuminated breezeway,
Right.
correct?
Right.
And if you have a dark space, you have a door that's now open, and you have illumination behind you, whether you had your tactical light on or whether it's not behind you, I mean, in your experience, I guess what I'm asking, you would be illuminated more than.
Yes, I would have the
Right.
right.
So, and you just said this, you saw the muzzle flash, and then you feel the gunshot.
He's seen that. There's no difference in time.
Whether or not you kind of described that you were on your butt in some position, and you scoot back at some point, but did you immediately drop down?
No, I got 400 off, I know that. As soon as it did, as soon as he fired, I fired back, boom, 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 boom. I stepped back and went down. I don't know if my leg gave out or if I just instinct from the two standing, two kneeling like we did. I don't know, you know, and just get off the center. That just kicked in. I got off center, got behind the door. I know I went to the left and went down. I'm not sure how. And then just came around and got two off. And then just got out of the car. Just And they don't, I don't get shot back in the head, you know.
Right, and that was kind of what's good too, that, you know, because of your positioning, you know, initially when you were shot, and rightly so, you're returning fire, you just said you made a conscious decision, you know, I'm now injured, I need to move, so they can protect themselves and me as well. And then I put words in your mouth.
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So,
I need to get out of their way, do whatever they need to do, and I didn't want to take one from them.
right,
You know, that comes in the brain. Like I said, your brain is working unbelievably quick.
and we all want to stress, we lose our fine motor skills, you know,
Yeah.
things kind of matter. So you're forward, we're referring to the door as we face it, so left, right. So at this point, you're always on the left hand side.
Correct.
Notice is always on the right.
Right.
And you believe the time of the shooting that Tony James and Moss also
On my left, yes. Behind me.
Okay, so
It's
be
my left. On my left.
okay, well, that's it, okay.
Yes.
So at some point, you know, I know we learned from the witness interviews that Tony had a ballistic shield. You know, whether that was utilized at all, you just got it.
Yeah.
But at some point,
I never saw Tony. The only face I saw that I made out clear, again, everything was kind of like shadows to me as far as who was here. I remember somebody over here, which was probably who, because he probably followed me out. But as I got up and left, I looked to my left to try to cross the doorway to get across. And I don't remember seeing the door, but I saw a man underneath the stairwell. The stairwell here, the door here. And I remember him, yeah, I remember him crossing. I remember seeing his face. It's the only face I saw until I saw him. It was the only two faces I recognized as I was going down.
just because of your position,
Right.
are you aware whether or not there was officers with you that returned fire?
I never saw anybody return fire.
Okay.
Like I said, I heard it once I got out between the cars. Right then, I don't know.
There's fire and all of you.
Yeah, no. I don't think they did, especially those my initial four. I know nobody did. It was just me and this guy. That was it. Other than that, after that, I'm not really sure.
But at that point, do you think anyone would have a position where they could
They were shot.
Right.
I just want to be quick, because I just made a note, initially, we're talking about sticking the door. So did the door come all the way out its hinges?
It went fast and went from right to left. So it went from left to right and opened all the way out. It was
Out the back.
I don't remember bouncing back.
And you had mentioned, you said that the guy was stretched out. What do you mean by that?
And both hands pushed out and in fighting and shooting stance.
Did you remember them, the occupants saying anything?
Nice.
Was it like it seemed kind of heard?
Yes.
Some talking, which made me think that was even.
Not sure he heard it. I think when he heard that, I was kind of addressing whatever the situation was going on upstairs between Brett and this guy.
Would you characterize that verbal contact with that resident?
He was being,
Kind of pulled the time, kind of changed the tactics of the situation.
it did, it pulled away from a lot of it, and he was being belligerent. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if he was drunk or what, but he was being very hostile from the get-go. As soon as the contact was made, he was just arguing back, and they were saying, just give me a partner, just give me a partner.
But you never physically or you never actually saw him because of the position where you were
Right,
at.
and I was underneath the overhang. So it's-
You said you guys didn't initially announce.
No, the first man was really my business. I think after that we did, I could be sure for the second, but again, there was probably 6 or 7 different contacts, multiple banging on the doors. And after that, each one of them had police come to the door, search one, police search one. And I remember Brett, when he was arguing with this guy, I was knocking on, police search one, police search one, police search one, police search one. I mean, he was repeating, so the guy had no place. Because while he was in contact, while he was in contact with him, and I'm behind him, he's yelling, please search one, over and over and over.
So was Mike also knocking, or was it just you?
I was on one
So, was anyone else counting research besides you?
yes, multiple people.
So kind of at the same time,
Yeah.
all those
Coming
kind
out
of.
that, yes, yeah.
So in the pre-operational briefing, you guys just considered this location as, and I've heard this a couple times throughout this investigation, software.
Right.
Based on the information that the lead had concerning the entire investigation, the organization of the drug trafficking. So that's what made it, that's what kind of made you all come up with the original pamphlets and not try to get her to the door, the most passive way into the circle. Right.
So you shot in the left leg, your wall, pretty clear the wall.
From the pocket.
What do you keep with it?
Other than bank cards, credit cards, money. It's got another clip in the middle of the holds it.
And you carry your wallet front pocket for what reason? Some guys do.
The back hurts from the, where the back is on that. Now, I remember in the EMS, in the EMS, the only thing left on my pants, basically, what was tied into the tourniquet, what they couldn't get out of the top. My wallet was flipped inside out, or my pant pocket was flipped inside out. And I remember ripping my pocket open, pulling my wallet out, and handed it to Tony, because I didn't want it to get lost, and I didn't realize a bullet had gone through it at that point. And I handed it to Tony, and I pulled up my ring, and I did my main belt to my vest off. And just said I didn't want this stuff getting lost. And then eventually Tony realized, or somebody realized there was a hole in it. And looked for ET to get.
CSG did it at the hospital.
Right.
Did Tony write down for you?
He didn't.
So the guys from your group, the initial people were Tony James and Mike Phillips.
Correct.
We won't get into, any really specific details of your injuries. Obviously, you were shot in the leg. It was a serious injury. As far as that, you were released from the hospital on Monday. What did the doctor say as far as physical therapy?
I'm supposed to take this one. There's some numbness that I keep feeling the thigh and on the calf and the bottom. He said he could come back to film, could not, may not, depends on the nerves regenerating. He expects, barring any other thing, there might be a knee injury now. We just discovered some ACL and CL stuff. Maybe some stuff off the curve, I'm not sure exactly. Because the quad muscle apparently quit functioning when it hit. I knew I couldn't put weight on it, but I didn't know why. They said the quad muscle stops working, so it stops going black.
So you're looking at maybe additional surgeries.
Possibly, they don't really, I don't have that appointment until April.
This is this current situation. Three questions we have asked you, that's important for us.
I think so.
Steve, you okay?
Just to clarify, the briefing prior to the execution search warrant was the warrant authorized, was it not? Was not?
Well, I verbally heard, we haven't signed as a no knock, but we're not gonna go that route. We prefer you to do the knock. On the board, it was written, no knock, not to announce on ours. But just because they put knock on us, they didn't want to sign no knock, we were told it was, but they asked us to do it the other route. So,
You know, I mean,
had it signed and changed.
then prior to when you guys arrived, you could pass it or stack, is that something you guys kind of do the same as a group, or is it just a position like that?
It depends on the what we had available to us. This breezeway was very small, and the best way to kind of go, going to the left or right, couldn't fit everybody on the left side, which is the best advantage because of the way the door swings open, you can only expose them, right? There's no room in the stairwell. So you just kind of fit in where you get it, and then the rest are gonna have to straggle on the anchor on the right side.
Would you describe it as a pretty, as far as the location goes, and I know it wasn't supposed to be a threat there, that it's considered a soft location, a soft target location. But as far as serving warrants, and you've got nearly 20 years of police experience, would you say that the position in that department made it extremely?
It made it a little difficult. It's not the most difficult one, but it was a tight squeeze to get the guys that, especially guys that maybe you don't do all your ones with, to know what you're doing, but everybody fell in place where they were supposed to, so. Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
It's important to know, who are the members in that group that you actually report directly to, and you work with?
Well, Mike Mel's Mike Mel's works with me every day. When James reports to me, he's assigned to the Jefferson County Sheriff's. It's just.
So we get members of CID that typically work every day together, but we're also expected to have the same parents, I understand that. But also keep in mind, and I know this from my experience, that when you do things with others, you kind of know what that person is and how they kind of maneuver through these situations.
Right, and the guys do a great job after the fact, so I don't want to, say anything negative about that.
Is there anything you say for you? Is there anything totally true to this or?
Yes.
So the same. 1336.
Are there any questions?
It sounded to me like this, a little bit confusing. I remember the hot, and we used to put together, and didn't even have
They all were investigators assigned to the Dixon Division. That's something that they said, they all had worked.
the experience is, what you said, it sounds to me as if he actually made it into the apartment. Because it sounded like he saw the liquor and it was clear. And then he saw down with him. And as he was trying to exit, this is early on in the statement. It's not as he was crossing, as he was crossing the threshold. After he
Excuse me for interrupting. You all, you'll have all the time to discuss with each other during your deliberations. But right now, asking if you have specific questions when you take a call about this interview.
Yes. Next question.
Yeah, that's all. My understanding was, he's here, door's raised, the door comes open. He looks as far as he can hear, the door's here. At some point, when it opens this way, see? Here goes this way. This is the door itself. This is the door. He's here. The door's raised. The door comes open. He kind of looks this way, the rest of the hand, he pops it up. That's my question. He steps in here. Finds the envelope, right out of the door, he looks here. That's what you see. I don't, my eyes understand, he doesn't step in here. I'm still right here.
Yeah, I feel that. I see the perception of how you put that. I feel like
Okay.
materialistic world. Money,
Okay,
whatever a woman
I'm gonna read from here, transcript from Sergeant Anderson's state, so not her state, but it was the
The transcript of this interview you just, like,
okay, second time gets the good spot and almost knocks the door. You can see, I can see the dead level at an angle, and I see, you can see a crack in the door into the leading into the apartment. So I said, this one's gonna go. So he did it for third time. And as soon as he hit the door, came over the gun, police searched him, the door went to the corner. I could see, clear the living room on the right hand side, and you can see the sliding glass door. As I turned the corner,
this is.
he's still here. He says he clears, he's referring to, he's saying,
I understand the scene, he said he hasn't cleared the
I turned,
He said, turn,
he turns the corner, this, he, right now he's looking. As I turned the corner, as soon as I cleared the threshold of the front door, I could see down the hall. So at that point, he cleared the threshold. He's standing right over here. Right here. He's over here. The door's this way. When he clears it, he's heading to this way. As I turn the corner, as soon as I clear the threshold of the front door, I can see down the hallway. My mind just went, my eyes were so quick in a situation that's unreal. Because as soon as I cleared it, I was face on about probably 20 feet away, right down the hallway. There's a bedroom door on the right. There's a male and a female. The male is closest to the door, so he's to my right. So he is here. And as I turned the doorway, in a stretched out position with his hands with the gun. He's this over here. The male suddenly comes to the door on the right. He mentions that this over here. He says the male suddenly. Switch like this. Well, he backs up. Previously, he said he sees the male and the female. All the time. Go away. He's in a stretched out position with his hands with the gun. And as soon as I carry he fires, boom, and now it was almost like they're shooting him. Sorry? Yeah, looking down the door, looking at the hallway, this way. Male, female, male is on the right. Yes. I think you might know the one that had the Graham, he was the one on the right, on this side of the door, on this side of the door, striking the door, the door handle, and the lock, doorknob, Mr. Graham. He's here, Detective Tony James, he thinks he's behind him, Detective Miles Cosgrove. He's not sure which, he thinks those two are behind him. Tony James, Detective James. Yeah, I guess. That's and because of security, if this was a wider, this from my experience, this is a wider area, the only person who would be here, they would all go on in. In that ideal situation.
Whatever we do, technically,
Well, each of the people, that's a question.
For them.
Yeah, because that's, like you mentioned earlier, maybe they'll get better tactics based on what's the need. Right. It's such a transmission. And I think he's right. I think he's right, I think he's right. Sean, we can stop it. And he's back here, he's back from the back of the stack. So we're awesome.
So from what you're saying, there's a conversation going on with the guy. They can do anything.
Right. And you'll hear some, additional statements related to that, what was upstairs.
I'm thinking that all the records are drawn, they haven't done that.
As far as, yes. We did. Whether it had been already or not ready, I don't know. As of right now, we know Sergeant Adams did, because as soon as he entered across the threshold, after he was shot, he turned.
My little question, he said that when he came out, he got shot and everything out, he fell off the curb, that was the curb to the parking lot.
Yes, over here, he backs out, shoots himself over,
And which officer did he run into?
he tripped over and takes him by his hand. Yeah, he was the one that was keeping eyes on him. But after we all got there, that hand goes up with the.
See, from this conversation, it sounds as if he got shot, he turned all the way around, because we said he struck on the left or right. And we said he went to the right, I'm thinking to that door number 3. Where he crosses the threshold.
Well, the way I heard it, well, he gets shot. After he gets shot, he turns for shots. It's kind of here,
To the left.
to the left of the door, looking at it. He shoots 2 more times. Then he gets down on the bottom. At some point, he drops his gun. Let's go with the gun. Grabs it. Then he can't walk. Remember, he's scooting now. So he's his bottom. He's scooting back. I think at some point he kind of staggers up. And then he trips over. So here's any other questions? Okay, I'm going to read a little bit more from Sergeant Adams' transcript. So at some point, I had no learned from the witness interviews that something in the business should. You know whether that was utilized or not. You just got to, yeah, I don't know. If at some point, you never saw Tony. The only face I saw that I could meet out there again, everything was kind of like that. While she was there. Remember somebody over here is probably Google, because he followed me out. And as I got up and looked to my left and tried to cross the doorway to get across. I don't remember seeing him in the door, but I saw Mike underneath the stairwell. Mike Knowles. The stairwell. Yeah, the stairwell is like this. Stairwell, here's the door, here, and I'm going to crashed. Okay. So he's leaving. Whoever's behind me, Marilyn's going this way, he crosses the threshold. he sees nobles underneath that stair. Because remember, he drops the ram, he's a ram, yeah. No, yeah, remember, yeah, I remember seeing his face. It's the only face I saw, is I saw Andy on the ground. Those are the only two faces I recognize as African. Just because of the position on the right. Are you aware whether or not there was officers pushing it? I don't know. I'll give you a here something.
This is, let me see, this is very important. When, you need to get up before the government. One of them is the real one. One is the only thing that's in two people. In the course of this, some man comes out of his door, not just the right, bottom of the stairs, talks to him, and he can go back inside. Try to get him to go back inside. At the same time, the officers will stay at that door, ask him not to open the door. And they are not saying this is the cleanest thing here. I said, again, this conversation is not expressed. Then they start thinking that
I don't know.
they said that every night that they not.
Other than,
Remember, we're not gonna have discussion between them.
yeah, remember, he's going to. See, that's. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go, the document. Okay, while he was in contact with the team, we got there, that banging, he's yelling back, police officers, over and over and over. So it was my noble, also nothing, it was just you that did. I was the only one that got, only one that was talking. So, was anyone else yelling, police search, saying, we was ready to take things? Yes, multiple people. Okay, yes, kind of at the same time, yeah. All the voices kind of about that. Hearing each other over, okay. Everybody, most people do that.
After the conversation, he was having.
Hold on, there's another area here, I'm gonna check, I was looking for that. Okay, so you said you guys did initially announce. No, the first bang on the door did not announce. I think after that we did. I couldn't be sure for a second. But again, there was probably 6 or 7 different contacts, multiple banging on the door. And after that, each one of them had, please come to the door, search, please search for him. I even remember Brett, and he was arguing with this guy, we were knocking on him. Please search him, please search him, please search him, please search. And he was refused, that had to know. When I tried to say, they were after the first knock, they didn't announce, and after that, they searched one for a second. Hankinson was talking, you hear later that we were talking, you managed, didn't hear what kind of tell Hankinson, they were, okay, to a more than knocking issue topic. So I was basically in front of the back door of the other apartment, just right beside it. We got in line. I knocked on the door, banged on it. We didn't announce the first couple, because our intent was not to hit the door. Our intent was to give it plenty of time to come to the door with the petition called in there So we determined, to give her plenty of time to come to the door. Bang on the door, no response. Bang on it again, no response. That point, we started announcing ourselves. Please come, please come to the door. Please get a search warrant. And while we're doing this there was a neighbor or somebody, who was right on the staircase and started arguing with some protective agency. They were both with commands to go back to the door. He kept saying, I wasn't really paying attention to what he said. Something about leave that girl alone or something like that. But while he was in that, we were still announcing, please come to the door. Please search him. We probably back out the door six or seven different time periods. Not 6 or 7 times, 6 or 7 different times. But it seems like an attorney interrupted the doorway. The call lasted between 45 seconds and banging on the door, and that time I was back in the he said, yes, go ahead and get it.
I just want to clarify, how you. So they served this at around 12:40.
Right.
The first round on roll call began at 12:43.
That's how that was.
So it's a span of 3 minutes. When they saw, the only light they saw was the very back of the apartment with the TV, so assuming that person was dead. So there, enough time to answer the door was 2 to 3 minutes.
Apparently at the time, but the zeros at the 12:40 time, I don't know. That's the time we were given approximately. I don't know. I think if someone looked at the watch and said, exactly, it could have been. I'm sorry.
So 12:40 is not necessarily the time.
But I mean, it could be 12:41, but I don't know if anybody, you know, the guy about it, saying it feels different. Consultation with it, so approximately 0:04. You know, there's a time, the 911 call, 12:43. It's great, that time is documented on that. Specific.
Radio traffic.
Yeah, actually, also, Tim Hankinson radio call came out at 00:43, I think in 20 seconds. So all that happened,
2 to 3 minutes.
15 minutes.
That's
Not, unfortunately, was on team. Unified Banks, Unified Dollar, pretty quick.
What you said, you said in there that, you said we're not in this conversation, that the guy described as, that was good.
Yeah, that's what I said. I like it.
Because it's like he doesn't know what the shield was.
Well, he knows that James, Victor James, that's Shield, he knows that he and Michael Cosgrove are behind. I don't know which order exactly. He knows he's here. He knows James and Victor Cosgrove are behind him somewhere. He knows that James has the shield. But, once again, I don't know why I think James wasn't. Okay. The next, we'll listen to 2 interviews with Detective Cosgrove, Miles Cosgrove. The first one was conducted with Detective Cosgrove, Louisville Metro Police Department's Public Integrity Unit on March 25th. City and Sergeant Jason Vance. Now we're back and comes up. The second interview was conducted with Detective Cosgrove on September 18th by myself at our office in Franklin.
This is Sergeant Nate Seeley of the Louisville Metro Police Department's Public Integrity Unit. Today's date is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. Time is 13:57. We are present at 3672 Taylor Boulevard, Public Integrity Office. This will be a recorded statement from Detective Miles Cosgrove. The statement is in reference to PID case number 20-0-20-019. Present with me is Detective Miles Cosgrove, Attorney Steve Shorey, Sergeant Jason Vance of the Public Integrity Unit. Detective, are you aware that this statement is being video and audio taped?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this being with your approval?
Yes, ma'am.
Please state your full name, so your last name.
My name is Miles Cosgrove, last name Cosgrove. 75, 7519
Where you currently reside?
to narcotics, or correction, it's now called. Yeah. Criminal Interdiction Division, CID.
How long have you been with that unit?
Just over 3 years, probably,
How long have you been with the department?
15 and change.
Are you under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other intoxicant at this time? Are you taking any kind of medication that would affect your judgment or your ability to think clearly?
No.
The next set of questions are in reference to the actual incident evening of March 13th, 2020, and the Springfield address. Did you sustain any injuries during the situation?
No.
Receive any medical treatment?
No.
What type of uniform or clothing were you wearing at the time of this incident?
I was wearing what we call plain clothes uniform. I had my black tactical vest on with white police lettering. Under that, I had, I think, a green long sleeve shirt. That might have, I had a long sleeve shirt and I had a shirt color. And then I had tan brownish colored 511 pants, cargo pants, something like that.
Okay. You have the same uniform or clothing on right now?
No.
Because of the statutory requirements of KRS 67C326, I am obligated to advise you of your constitutional rights prior to making any further questions. We're going to take your rights with you. I've already filled out the place and the date. The time is 13:59. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your right. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer prior to any questioning or the making of any statements, and to have him present with you while you're being questioned. You cannot afford to hire a lawyer or will be appointed by the court to represent you before any questioning you desire. You may stop the question or making of any statements at any time or refusing to answer further or by requesting to consult with an attorney prior to continuing with questioning or the making of any statements. Section would be for you that you've read. The statement, your rights, I can let you read this. Okay, we do that with it being I.
Yeah, it just basically is, if your waiver rights, and this is what you're saying, if you're saying it's films. I read the statement of my rights, I understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement and answer questions, and not know whether it's time or it's present. Understand and know what I'm doing, no pressure, no promises, or threats have been made to me, no pressure reports of any kind. So basically, saying it, acknowledging it's not twisting your arm against this stuff. I don't know what kind of thing.
I understand.
In your own words, the incident that occurred on Friday, March 13th, 2020 at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4. We have your involvement in it.
All right. I'll start from, I guess, the roll call room. So at approximately 10 o'clock, we were told to, all of the narcotics or CID was told to meet in the roll call room to assist the place-based unit with several warrants of their briefing. I was seated next to Prill, and we were assigned, I was assigned with John Mattingly, Brett Hankinson, Tony James, Mike Campbell, who was actually already out there with the eye, and Lieutenant Sharp, I believe that's all the folks that were assigned to go to Springfield. We were asked repeatedly during the briefing that this was what I call like a soft target. We were asked to please knock and announce and to use our maturity as investigators to get into this house, to not basically hit the door, even though they had a no knock warrant signed. So after the briefing, there was probably an hour or so for people to rally up at certain locations. And I proceeded to go to a church located on, I'm not really familiar with this area, like Manslip Road, St. Andrew's Church Road, where we were all to rally up. Our group was to rally up to go to our location. And we waited in this lot for half an hour or so. And while waiting at the lot, John Magley drove by the address to confirm where we were going. And Mike Campbell was on the eye, and I'd spoken to him, and he explained, where we were going as well. The route up to this place was explained to us as kind of tricky to get to due to how large the parking lot was for these various apartment complexes. So we wait in the parking lot for half an hour or so, and while in the parking lot, EMS is there waiting for us. So at some point during this waiting, a call comes over on the radio to everybody to move out. So I call Mike Campbell and tell him, give him a heads up that we're going to be en route, which is about 5 to 7 minute drive. I'm in the car. I think John is leaving, and everyone's just kind of getting ready to convoy up there. And at the last second, Lieutenant Hoover decides to get in my car so we can consolidate bodies and not have as many vehicles going up to this area. So we wait at this intersection for around a minute or so, and then we start up towards our assignment. In the meantime, there's radio chatter, and I'm not really paying attention too much to what's happening. We take several turns to get to our apartment, and at one point, I think one of our cars took a false turn, and we had to slow down to get it back in. We get to the parking lot, our parking area, and everybody kind of peels off and parks in a close walk. I end up parking next to a kind of a dumpster area to the right side of the building that we're going to. Everyone exits their vehicles, and we meet up more or less at the sidewalk area, sidewalk vestibule area to walk into this apartment door. I, being one of the last guys that had walked up, naturally my assignment is to cover probably the sliding glass door or the windows, exit points for people. The rest of the individuals are lining up on what I want to call the apartment vestibule, the entryway, kind of to the left of the stairwell that led up to the second floor. We were on the ground floor. So everyone's kind of moving to get into position, and I am standing more or less in front of the sliding glass door. And someone in our group proceeds to knock on the door and knock and announce. Typically we say police search warrant, come to the door. I'm not exactly sure what they said verbatim, but I know I did hear the words police search warrant. They knock and they knock and they knock, and this goes on for probably a minute. And during that minute, I am shining my leg with flashlight into the sliding glass door and into this side window, which is more than likely a bathroom window that is to the right of the sliding glass door. I'm just in this area seeing if I can see movement or shadows or lighting or hear anything for that matter. And then I hear some challenge words believe Brent Hankinson is challenging somebody. So I come around from the sliding glass door, because where I was initially standing, I can't see anything. So I come to kind of like where the sidewalk and the entry sidewalk meet, and I can see that Brent Hankinson is challenging a male individual who is was standing in the door of an open door at the apartment directly above the apartment that they are knocking in and announcing. They have an interaction. Brent Hankinson and this gentleman upstairs who was told to go in this house. There's quite a bit of shouting going on. They're still knocking on the door, and Brent is dealing with this gentleman upstairs. It is very loud, and the gentleman upstairs says something like, and again, this is not a quote, but I hear something like, leave that girl alone, or there's a girl there, something like that. So the command to hit the door is given by someone in the staff. At this point, 2 minutes has probably gone by, possibly 2.5 minutes has gone by. I'm still standing at the sidewalk, at the T intersection, at the end of the stairs, closer to the sliding glass door than I am to the front door. Most of the stick is standing to the left of the door. And the command is given to go ahead and hit the door, hit it. Mike Nobles has the ram, and it's his responsibility to now open the door. Mike Nobles hits the door once, and that's when I realized that Mike Nobles does not have what we call a cover two person, meaning that Mike Nobles is now exposed, and Mike Nobles, having a tool in his hand, a heavy ram, has no way to protect himself. So I see that Mike Nobles is in a vulnerable position, or about to be in a vulnerable position, because he doesn't have a cover person. Most of us are stacked up to the left side of this door still. Mike Nobles hits the door again. On the first hit and the second hit, the door just does this bowing, flexing. And I see that Nobles doesn't have a cover, so I am walking, speed walking, kind of fast walking to Nobles' position. Mike Nobles hits the door a third time, possibly a fourth time. I am now maybe a half step to a step behind Mike Nobles when the door actually breaches or when the door opens. Due to my position, I really don't have a good visual of inside of this apartment, because I'm looking at basically still the door from where the door opens. I would call this first light. So the folks on the left side of this door would have first light, meaning that the door opens more to the left side of the door. So John Mattingly, who at the time I didn't know was John Mattingly. John Mattingly is the first person that enters the threshold of the door. And my assignment is now to go in behind this person that goes into this apartment. So I'm probably a step, half step behind individuals that are entering this apartment complex, or this apartment. I'm immediately overwhelmed with this darkness. It is extremely dark in this apartment. As John Mattingly is more or less just past the threshold, the door frame, or the doorway, I see blinding, vivid, white light, and I see blackness at the same time. This dark, deep black, and these vivid white flashes. At the same time I'm seeing these flashes, I know that John Mattingly is at my feet. I'm also not hearing anything. It is completely mute. These flashes continue, these white, vivid flashes in this darkness. And I know that someone is at my feet, and I am still at the threshold of this doorway, the threshold, the welcome mat area of this door. And John, or this person below me, is shuffling around me, moving around me, and I believe at one point I'm standing on this person that is below me. I know that someone has been shot, that John has been injured. I continue to see this blinding light, these vivid white flashes, and I see this darkness in front of me, followed by, and this is hard for me to explain, but I see this distorted, shadowy mass, this figure, green, this figure in front of me that is, it's just, it's coming and going due to the flashing light. This is all happening again in seconds. I'm still standing in more or less the same spot on the threshold. Again, I can hear nothing. It's completely muted. There is no sound. I turn and I see that John Manley is being pulled or scooched back or is somehow moving back from behind me. I know, or I'm fairly positive that before me turning to look at, to know that he had left or to know that he had been moved, I'm almost positive that I had fired or were firing during those flashes and during that vivid, white and black and gray colors I was seeing. So John is being moved or pulled from behind me. Just take 1 second here. So I realize that John is being moved, and I also moving backwards or leaving the threshold, this welcome mat area of the door. John is being kind of shuffling on his butt, and folks are pulling at him. This is all occurring between the doorway and between the stairwell. So in a kind of a confined space that we're in. I still see these vivid white flashes. And I don't see darkness anymore, but I'm seeing this vivid flashing, and I'm starting to see a bigger picture. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I'm starting to see more things. I don't know how else to say that. It's from when I was inside, when I was in this doorway, I'm not really seeing any. I'm trying to say that.
I'm trying to say that part was it's starting to become more.
No, it was becoming smaller inside those, during those flashes, if that makes, I don't know how else to say that. So they're dragging John out of this apartment, and I'm starting to see, again, like see colors and shapes. So John is drugged behind some cars in the parking lot, and I must have taken a different route. We are now in in the parking lot behind where cars are parked, pretty much right in front of the sliding glass door. I said, unfuck yourselves and reload, because I knew that I needed to do that. So I went ahead and reloaded while hiding behind this car. John is being attended to by folks. I look up at this apartment knowing that there's still potential that we may have to encounter somebody exiting this place. And I see that we're still kind of in a precarious spot due to where we had decided to trick John. I told Hoover and probably other folks that were helping John that we needed to move. And there was a car parked in the parking lot roadway, a larger car, some kind. And we, whoever was helping John, kind of drove him to the rear tire left side of this car. And Hoover asked for a tourniquet. I give Hoover a tourniquet out of my medical pouch in my vest. And Hoover goes to put this tourniquet on, and it looks like it breaks. So I have this overwhelming sense to leave that we need to go. So I run back up to the dumpster where my car is parked. And I get my car, and I drive my car down to where they're working on John beside this SUV. I know that Brent Hankinson is, I assume he's on the radio because he sounds like he is talking to the radio, and he is very loud. I pop the trunk of the car and I get my AR-15 out, and I see that I'm still working on John. I go to my glove box and open my glove box and get out all the other trauma stuff that I have in there. And I dump all this trauma stuff onto John's chest, and then I go stand kind of the rear section of this car SUV so I can cover the apartment, because we are still standing more or less in front of this sliding glass door. Hoover is trying to hold John down to put on a tourniquet to do something, and John is just thrashing about in pain. And then I try to hold him down with my foot so Hoover can do something with him. And I'm still trying to cover the sliding glass door area. Hankinson is yelling to ram the gate. And I'm not exactly sure what this gate you're talking about is. It was briefed in the parking lot of the church that the route we were taking was a little odd because of what I assumed was construction. But apparently there is some kind of vehicular gate that remains closed in these apartment complexes for whatever reason, probably to keep them separated. So Hankinson is yelling very loudly to ram the gate, and then the next thing I know, there's a patrolman there, and his car is there. And he is helping Hoover and the other individuals treat John. And I can overhear Hankinson talking to EMS and talking about EMS. I know EMS is close, but they don't know where we are exactly, or they don't want to come up to us. I'm not sure what EMS is close. And I figured, put John in the trunk of the car, around the trunk. So Hoover and this patrolman, whose name is Combs, I don't know his first name, and that may not be his name, but I believe his name is Combs. Combs and Lieutenant Hoover and somebody else drove my car to EMS, which is located on the opposite side of where this gate was ramped. So now myself, Mike Campbell, and Hankinson are the only folks in this parking lot covering the apartment. I would say a minute or so goes by and we are just watching this apartment. And Mike Campbell says something to the effect of, I hear somebody, he hears somebody or something. About that same time, the patrolman comes back and he is now on the left side of me. And myself, as patrolman, Brent Hankinson and Mike Campbell are behind where cars are supposed to park in the parking lot, facing this side glass door front door of the house apartment. Mike Campbell says he hears an individual or hears noise in there, and I tell Mike to attempt to call this person out. Mike is winded, be a good word to use, and Brent Hankinson automatically takes control of calling this individual out, while myself, Campbell, and Combs are covering the doors of this apartment. I would say some time goes by, a minute or so, minute or two goes by, and an individual, male individual, comes out of the apartment. And my view right now is very limited due to the cars and due to the stairwell on the side of this house. So all I can see pretty much is a torso of a person. And this person is moving very, very slowly. Panic looks. Like almost slow motion, not because of any physical aspects. The person is just very, very slow to move, taking tiny steps, if that makes sense. Brent Hankinson talks to this individual. He comes back to kind of like where the base of the stairs are in this apartment vestibule. And a patrol dog is suddenly on my hip, and I can feel it breathing. And the canine officer goes over to Brent and kind of verbally takes over, giving commands to this individual. And when the canine officer gave commands, this person seemed to walk normally, I guess, or act naturally. I noticed that Lieutenant Hoover is back now. I don't know if he had left or he'd never left, but now Lieutenant Hoover is back, and I'm telling Hoover they're dealing with this person, and they're being very noisy, and we are still trying to cover this house. So I told Hoover to move him, get him out of here, because we can't communicate with each other and still work this house due to how short we are. So the guys moved, and we continue to hold on this house. To my left, there's some kind of commotion. I tell some individuals that are close to me just to hold, keep holding on this apartment, and whatever's going on to my left, we'll figure it out. I think we must have been there holding on this apartment for a while, I had several minutes. And finally, SWAT shows up. And during this gap of time, additional folks are coming. As soon as SWAT shows up, they pretty much took over what was happening, and I kind of just understood. In the rear of the barrel, in the safe area. And then SWAT did their thing. And they came out and said, at some point it was said that everything is safe. It's kind of it.
When we're talking about the end there, so you said you kind of stood behind the bear. Go on from there. Did peer support make contact with you? What did you do at that point?
Okay. I hadn't really thought about that.
We're not going to talk about like conversations and saying
No,
about
no,
those actions.
So I'm kind of hanging out in the safe area behind the bear, and I'm not exactly sure what happened in that kind of time frame. At some point, I am. That's right. Cole from narcotics, is staying there talking to me. And we just kind of walk around the parking lot. I think he's just there walking with me. So I'm just kind of walking in this parking lot, I guess, taking it in or I guess that's what I'm doing, just walking in the parking lot with Cole. At some point, we are told to kind of go away.
So you make contact with peer support, and then does peer support provide you transportation here to JU?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure when Michael, I think his name is Michael. At some point, I came in contact with Michael, which was probably 10 minutes or so before or Steve showing up, possibly.
Right, so you ultimately end up being brought back to the PIU office. And
Yes.
There was round counts and then photographs and all that. Right.
Can we go into that?
No, you're good. Sorry, Sue.
We have some moves. Just, we don't have a street level because people doesn't have an actual street.
Yeah, so this is an overall of the scene location, and then we've actually labeled this apartment building where the scene of the incident occurred as subcategory A, if you will, and the gate that divides the two properties. And you said yourself, is the gate was here to make a clear division between this apartment living community and the one that's adjacent to it. And we labeled that B. This kind of, give you a visual reference of what we're, as we go through this. And in this photograph 2, is a closer photograph of the actual apartment building. And this is where this is where the incident took place. This isn't a picture, the day of the incident or like that, so these cars are just, they don't matter. But the parking space is wood. So, to go back, from the beginning, when you guys came down, you mentioned that you all got separated in your, so you all were lined up as, you call it like a stack of vehicles. Because if you don't factor in that you can access to this, you get access to this location with that gate not being there. To get to that location, it's kind of a puzzle. It winds and if you don't know where this is at, it's kind of hard to get to. Correct, yes. So you all, ended up getting here, parking. You mentioned that you and Lieutenant Hoover were riding in your vehicle, which is what kind of car is it?
Silver Nissan Altima.
Okay, Silver Nissan. So you guys get up here, kind of go back through, and you may not know this, was there a vehicle parked somewhere here as you all approached?
Yes. There's a white car here, and I don't know if it's an SUV, but it was a bigger car. It may have been an SUV, but it was a white vehicle parked literally right here. It's behind this parking space.
Did you guys to address that before you actually got into a position for entry?
No, let me go back like an hour earlier before you got here. Someone had come to our parking lot, or maybe not, maybe this is just dumb luck. But Cole's tires on his police car and John Magnus' tires on his police car had been either purposely cut or they had both ran over the same day in the park. So prior to us leaving, John, who normally drives a dark colored SUV, I think he drives a Dodge SUV, maybe. I was gonna say Charger, but he doesn't drive the car. So basically, John switches his cars out at the last minute, and he's driving, and I've never seen this car before, something like 1998 Pacifica or something like that. I mean, it looks like a Breaking Bad car, like some hideous white thing. So I assume this vehicle here was John's vehicle, because he had led the stack. And now that doesn't make any sense, because we would never do that. But, you know, with the confusion of coming down here, that is a possibility, and that's whose vehicle I thought this was John's borrowed car parked right here. I normally wouldn't do that because that is tactically elementary. You don't park in front of the place you're going. You don't do that. So I thought that was John's car. And most of us, I think, are parked way, like saying on the pictures, way over here. Okay. But no, we did not address it, or I didn't address it. I just assumed it was John's car.
Okay. So, you know, once you guys make approach to the location, you described that you're kind of hanging out, you know, on the sidewalk, and you have the patio door. So to verbalize the layout of the apartment building is that it's 2 floors. The target location, as far as you all are concerned, is apartment 4, which is on the first floor. There's a staircase, an open staircase that leads to the second floor apartments. Correct. And the patio door that you were speaking of is immediately to the right. It's the first patio door to the right, into the entryway of those apartments. Correct. So you're holding that patio door. And then, if you don't mind, we're gonna go back through what you did. And I don't want to be worried about something. That's why if I say something that's incorrect, I want you to correct me. So you go in, you eventually make your way into the entryway, and at some point, Detective Hankinson has a verbal contact with a resident on the second floor. But you all, but in the process of this, you realize that, and you said it perfectly, that Detective Nobles, who has a breaching tool, that's not armed, he cannot be armed because he has a breaching tool, he has no cover. So you fill up, as part of your training, you come up and you are now considered his cover. So you come up, and now we'll address this as we're looking at the door. So we have a left-hand side of the door and a right-hand side of the door. Correct. So if you're looking at the target location's door, Nobles has the ramp on the right, okay, and you're his cover immediately behind him. I think you said a step or so behind him, so it's pretty close. But enough to where he has full motion where he can utilize his breaching tool. Would that be correct?
Yes, but had I been there, had I been doing something correctly, yes. But I think just by me walking up there, that was just happenstance that I happened to be that distance away as he is. Okay. Yes.
And before, and I'm trying to set up the positions, and we won't get to entry just yet. But so at that point, if you're looking at the target door on the right-hand side, you have Nobles, yourself, and then to the left, you have Sergeant Mattingly, and then who else? Do you remember?
I know who was there, but I don't know what anybody else was doing.
Okay. Are you confident to say that Hankinson was behind you? Because of the verbal contact he was having?
Yes and no. Hankinson was initially in the staff in this area, and I'm here.
Okay.
Hankinson addresses the guy, and then when they go to hit the door, people move around. Right. So I'm not sure where anybody is at that point, because I'm here. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm not watching. They're doing their thing. So when Nobles hits the door, I hear the door being hit, and that's when I see that there's no cover. I forgot what question you asked me.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. We're going to walk through this as slow as we can. So before the door is actually forced or breached, you all knock on the house.
Yes.
Can you kind of describe that whole, I mean, I know that it was kind of a long period because,
Oh, the knocking and answering, it gives me chills to think about how long we stayed out. Knocking and answering on the door it is nerve-wracking. And then to knock on the door, have to challenge somebody who we've obviously disturbed by our noise and commotion that we're creating, and then to have to continue to knock on the door again, that is, I don't know how, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, I don't really have a word to
and why is it
say
so?
that.
Because it's an unknown threat.
Because you have this building, this room, this house or apartment that you're gonna go into here initially, and now you are letting people that are in this. He was told to meet in the Roll Room to assist the place-based.
Describe that you're kind of hanging out, on the sidewalk and
I don't know what anybody else was doing.
okay. Are you confident to say that Hankinson was behind you?
Being out there for that extended amount of time and folks not coming to the door, either they're not home, which is the best thing, because nobody's home, or they're in there formulating some kind of plan to either do me harm, to do the people around me harm. I mean, nobody cares if they're in there destroying evidence. That's really beside the point. It's that they're in there and they have this time to plan to do something, and that is the nerve-wracking part is you're standing outside. You don't know what this plan is.
And to kind of go back, I apologize. I remember you saying that you actually tried to illuminate the apartment from the outside with your flashlight.
Correct.
Which is, I'm assuming, one of the newer flashlights, which is very bright.
It is not the newest one. It is the one that they gave us 2 or 3 years ago. The baby brother, the new one, I
But
guess.
it's not the automatic lights.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So there's an LED light bulb and
Yes.
or light source.
When you were here, before you moved up, could you see any light from the patio or the?
No, there was absolutely no light. And peeking your head in the window is ridiculously dangerous. And normally you wouldn't put yourself in that position, but when you're not going to announce it for that long, and if you're fairly confident that nobody is in there, then you might peek into this room. And I would say that I definitely got closer than I should have to look into these windows or these doors to see if I could see anything. And I saw darkness. There's absolutely no ambient light of any kind in this apartment. Nothing. It is completely dark. From my light source.
So to kind of go back to the door, so and we've already talked about the duration of time that you guys knocked on the door, announced your identified yourself as police, and also identified your legal authority to search warrant.
Correct.
So, and at some point, Detective Hankinson has verbal contact with the second floor resident. Do you remember anything about that? Detail-wise?
I just know that again, I'm still kind of far away. So I know Hankinson is saying, he used the word "sir, go back in your apartment," and they are both very loud. The resident and Hankinson are loud. And the guy, and I hate to say it, but the guy he had an attitude towards us of leave her alone, or leave that girl alone, or something. And that's not a quote, but that's partial of what I'm hearing over Hankinson shouting and us talking in my distance.
Okay.
So they're having this loud, this loud talking back and forth that goes on for a good while. And I don't know if he actually went back inside before we did our thing, but this went on for a while to where, it just felt like we were out here forever we were just out there for a long time.
So the decision's made eventually that you guys are gonna make entry, that you're gonna force entry.
Correct.
Which you had already been briefed on, and you were told that you had legal authority to do that. You had a board with you, right?
Yes.
To serve.
Yes, correct.
So you talked about Nobles hitting the door, and again, we'll talk about the left and right hand side of the door. Nobles is on the right hand side of the door, and he is, utilizing the ram to breach the door. And at some point, the door is breached.
Yes.
If you can, with detail, go back and kind of run us through that. And I know that, the best you can. I mean, I'm not expecting you to be perfect, just whatever you.
So again, I'm staying in this, what I'll call like this T intersection area where the building and the sidewalks come together. Because my ultimate job is to stay outside and watch the store, even when these folks go in the house. That's my job. And again, I see Nobles from this distance that he does not have a covered person on the right side of the door. And I'm not exactly sure where everybody else is. I assume they're on the left side of the store, but I see Nobles does not have cover because he has a heavy tool in his hand and cannot protect or defend himself or the other folks that are with us. The door is hit once, I see the door bow, and that is probably when I realized that it is now my job because watching this door can be left alone for a second because Nobles is in need of a cover person. And I always try to find a job to do while doing these things, and that was the most important job that I saw that needed to be taken care of, was to go be Nobles' cover. So Nobles hits the door again as I am fast walking to Nobles. So now I am fast walking towards the right side of the door. And I pretty much can only see Nobles and a sliver of the door due to the hangings and whatnot, and due to Nobles moving his body. Nobles hits the door a third time. The door is hit probably a fourth time. The door opens on the third or fourth hit, and at that time, I am a half step or a step behind Nobles, more or less the spot that person should have been in the first place. So the door is open. Nobles has to obviously get out of the way, and we call it cover one and cover two. So I'm the cover two person. And I mentioned what we call first light. First light is whoever can see into a room first.
Not to stop there, I wanted to kind of explain that. So if you're looking at that door, the hinge is going to be on the left-hand side, and the door would open from right to left. Would that be correct?
The hinge is on the right side.
Are you sure?
That's the side of the door that was standing on, so you would normally hit this side of
Would
the
you hit it on the hinge, or would you hit it on the actual knob?
You would hit it around the knob area.
Right. So what I mean by the hinge, I mean like what?
Oh, yes.
What the pivot's off.
Yes.
That's what I thought you
The
meant.
pivot is on the left side of the door where most of the folks have stacked. That is probably where I would have slid to.
Right. So the door opens from right to left.
Yes.
Which, as you said, and it was very correct, that the person on the left-hand side would have first light. That means he would have the most tactical position for entry.
Yes.
And your job is to fill in to cover two, which would be the second person's.
Yes, and to communicate with the cover one person if I see something that he doesn't see. But due to the door, due to my body position, having to kind of hurry up there.
So at that point, Sergeant Mattingly, who is cover one or his first light, he begins to clear and then make entry into the apartment. What I meant by clear was clear his spaces, because it's kind of like about tactics.
Yes, so somebody, John Manley, enters the apartment. And again, due to my spacing and my kind of out of positioning that I was in, I'm not sure. I think I'm answering your question. So the first person goes in, and I immediately go in after this first. I want to say go in. I position my body to go in after this first person.
So at that point, when Manley begins to make entry, there's not immediate, but relatively immediately a threat.
Correct, yes.
So kind of how do you determine the threat? As far as, was it Manley's responses, his actions, whatever?
So, as I'm at the threshold of this doorway, I see these vivid lights, which I know are not natural, not normal, shouldn't be happening. And I know that those are gunshots, those are fire being fired. And then within the same, 1 second, there's a person, John, at my feet. It's quicker than I'm talking, is how quick that happened.
So at that point, John's shot. John had sustained a gunshot wound, and he has fallen. Is he sitting on his butt, or I know you may not know the answer to some of these questions.
I know that John is sideways, kind of, if that helps you. He's sideways, and I feel that I am standing on a part of his ankle or his hip or his calf, or I'm standing on something. I feel like I'm standing on something.
You're making contact with his body, something.
Yes, and about the time that I stopped feeling this contact is about the time that I stopped firing. But again, that happened in like 2 seconds.
So from I know what, this is the way these things occur. So John goes to make entry to the apartment, there's a threat. He perceives it, he's shot, he fires. And is it, again, I'm going to answer for you. I want you to tell me, do you perceive it in the same, I don't want to say milliseconds, but in just a very short period of time, and you guys are almost firing at the same time, or is it?
I don't know. I just see this flash, this vivid flash, and this distorted, shadowy figure. And I thought this would come back to me, and that's all I see is this distorted, shadowy figure, and these flashes, which are obviously a gun being fired.
But you knew that John had been shot, and
Yes, I knew that clearly, that John had been shot.
So the figure's is it
The figure is in the apartment in front of me. Now, I'm not, I assume I'm in the threshold of the door, so it would probably be in front of me. But then again, that is not.
You've got 15 years on as law enforcement, and in your experience as law enforcement, what's one of the first things that you lose under a stressful situation? Firearm skills, would you say? Everybody.
I have experienced it a few times, but not to this severity. This loss of hearing, this muteness was, it was debilitating. It was disturbing. It wasn't real. And then this shadowy figure is, it's shrinking, if that makes sense. And it doesn't make sense to me, but the world is becoming really vividly black and white.
You having like tunnel vision, does that?
That would be a good word. I'm having this tunnel vision.
So your view is becoming
Yes, my
smaller?
view is becoming like a periscope or binoculars view.
Believe it or not, that's common. It really is. I know it's disturbing kind of when you're coming back and thinking about it, but it's common.
And the fine motor skills you talk about, I did not have any pain sensation in my hands. I mean, we've all fired weapons here, and you know that they have a distinct feel to it. And I did not have any pain sensation or any recollection that I'm firing a gun. If you told me I didn't fire a gun, I'd be like, okay. But due to the fact that those flashes were happening, that is why I don't believe that it's gunfire.
So at some point, Manley's discharged his weapon, you've discharged your weapon. you know, and Mattingly, it still isn't a position to be, you know, and you yourself, you
Yes, we are standing,
send,
I am in the doorway. John is more or less, John is in the doorway. He may not be standing under the doorway, but he is in the doorway. We are we are in the most vulnerable position we can be in, is in this doorway, exposed to whatever is happening everywhere. We have stopped all of the people behind us, the other policemen, from coming in because we have now constricted this doorway because we are standing there. So the only places for me and John to go is either go forward, which makes no sense at all, or to go backwards. And to go backwards over a person that is obviously underneath you is not something I want to do.
so to kind of go back there, and like I said, if you don't remember, just say you don't recall, because I don't want to try to put the brakes on. So, you know, at that point, you're still in that, what we consider the fatal flaw.
Yes.
Mattingly is down, he's trying to get out of the way. You're not sure you can even back up because you're worried that maybe you trip over enough. But at some point, all you all are out of that location. Let's go back through it if you can. If you can't, it's fine. And kind of go through it and what you remember, if you remember, details of how you all activated out of that little breezeway. Got to the parking lot.
Okay. I'm very positive that I looked at John when I felt that he was not there anymore. So I feel this void, this emptiness, like there is nobody there. And I turn and I see that John is kind of scooched a little further behind me. Now it may have been a scooch of inches. And that's when I had an unconscious decision to move, because John is obviously in the right direction to go now. I really can't expand on that because it happened so quickly, but I sensed that it was time to go. And so, I don't really remember doing much in the vestibule area. I don't remember touching John until we kind of got to maybe this area here. And that was briefly because we could all squeeze through the cars. I know when I got to when I'm still in the vestibule there's still flashing happening, but my vision is expanding. I think you may get the tunnel vision. My vision is coming back to normal and I can see colors.
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing. I'm seeing the stairwell, I'm seeing the concrete, I'm seeing John shuffle and push himself and people grab at him. I see Mike Campbell on his ass. I don't know if that makes sense, but Mike Campbell's on the ground, maybe. And then this is still kind of as I'm in this confined space here. I still have that muted noise. I don't hear it. I would say about the time that I got out of the covered space is when I started kind of coming back into it. I'm sure there's a scientific word for it, I don't know what it's called.
And at that point, once you evacuate yourself and, the rest of the team out to the parking lot, other than like providing a tourniquet and first aid, stuff like that, your primary position was a cover position for the officers that were providing that.
Yes, I would say so. There was people that you got to find a job. People were working on jobs, so my job would be to make sure that there's no more danger from this building.
And the positioning was not secure because you all were immediately outside the windows.
So we were in more or less in this area here, and that's when I said we need to move in to. We were still in a precarious spot, but at least we had distance and 2 cars between us and at the windows.
From the time, if you, again, you may not be able to answer this, from the time that you start to move from the breezeway or the opening, do you hear shots or you don't hear shots?
I don't hear any gunfire at all, ever. I hear nothing until I'm in this area is when I start hearing people. I don't hear gunfire anymore. The white flashes, I'm still seeing, which doesn't make sense because I'm not firing. But I still see white flashes as it doesn't really show, but as I'm using the opening of this apartment building here.
Do you recall where the white flashes were coming from?
Not at that time, no. It was just, it's like my brain was kind of like overloaded, if that makes sense. And it was kind of coming back into focus, kind of that fuzz that goes away. So, I know they weren't coming from us, like from the parking lot, if that makes sense.
To your knowledge, was the scene altered in any way? Did you guys have to, what I meant by this, did you guys have to manipulate anything that you would consider evidence?
Oh, no, I never went back.
Well, even the exterior, like we would consider the whole thing.
No, some things would have gotten kicked around, obviously, but nothing was disturbed or picked up or thrown away that I didn't do anything.
And as you stated, you stayed on scene until SWAT secured the location.
Yes, and then probably until Steve showed up, 20 minutes, 15 minutes later, so. Or longer, my phone was kind of disturbed for that and stuff.
Are there any questions we have not asked you or any other information you have that may be beneficial to this case?
I don't think so. No.
Then you want to say for the record before we end? Is everything you told you the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, we did this.
I just have one question about that, you covered this adequately, just to make sure it's clear. At the time you were in the doorway with Madeline, did you have any question in your mind from the response or anything?
Absolutely not. I knew for a fact that we were in danger of being killed or seriously injured.
That's all the questions I have.
Conclude, the time is 15.
Any questions? Yes,
Very end says it was a soft time. What does that mean?
soft target.
Yeah.
I think when they're using it, they didn't believe that there was a danger there. It was going to be a relative. I believe in their terminology, what they're referring to as a soft target, and they didn't anticipate any issues or any danger against that target. Now, yes, ma'am.
Do you know the actual lineup?
That is something you'll have to listen to, and because all the interviews, everybody can agree on who is there. As far as what specifically all of them say, they really can't say specifically where everybody else is at.
That was everything now, except, was there anything that I did to evaluate games and then was there or something or not?
Well, and you'll hear more interviews, but you'll hear, Lieutenant Hoover's back there. You'll notice in this, in Detective Oswald's statement, there's some different variation between where he says he was and where Sergeant Maddox was. Lieutenant Hoover, you will ever hear from him later, but he was part of that team that next to him. Yes.
I heard this officer, that will say that he was right behind Larry, and that he was on the threshold, and then he sacrificed.
Well, I think if you first listen to what he said, he just kind of named specifically, but then he can remember someone did. Later on, he figures, then he remembers at some point stepping on someone. He later remembered. So his account is someone.
That's what the hearing is. What it sounds like, it sounds like he's confirming that the officer inside of the door, he is that threshold.
Well, like I say, I can't speak to specifics to as far as whether he's this far in or he's vehicle right here. You can only go with one per testimony.
My next question, do these officers have to?
I'm not sure on that. When I was a contractor, if I was involved in something like that, you know, that's something as officers, detectives, you don't want to judge, I don't want to judge. It is not common to hear reports that say people, I mean, officers, people involved in successful situation, losing firearms skills, or I think somebody referred to something. I'm not saying that's what he was experiencing.
Okay, we're back on the record at 2:43 p.m. Second of all, we have another interview that we want to
Yes, ma'am, we're going to change it just a little bit. Our next interview is going to be with Detective Mike Knowles. This was up on March the 16th, Louisville Methodist Public Integrity Unit, and interviewers are Sergeant Mansfield and Sergeant Jason Davis.
This is Amanda Seabury, the Louisville Police Department Total Integrity Unit. Today's date is Monday, March the 16th, 2020. The time is 13:09. We are present at 3672 Taylor Boulevard in the Public Integrity Office. This will be a recorded statement from Officer Michael Noble. The statement is in reference to PID case number 20-019. Present with me is Officer Mike. Is it Michael or Mike?
Legal name is Michael.
Nobles, with no attorney and Sergeant Jason Banks of the Public Integrity. Officer, you are the stand to be in video and audio taped.
Yes.
So speak with your approval.
Yes.
Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Michael Nobles, MD, alias
What is your code number?
7668,
Where you currently assigned,
CID.
and how long have you been with that unit?
Yes. Well, I just merged in the CID from narcotics, so. Winter, early 2017,
And how long have you been on the department?
2006, 14.
Are you under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other intoxicants at this time?
No.
Have you taken any kind of medication that would affect your judgment or your ability to think?
No.
We're going to talk about the incident that occurred on Friday, March 13th, 2020. Did you sustain any injuries during the situation?
Just some scrapes on my knees.
CSU, are you fully rested?
Yes.
Received medical treatment?
No.
What type of uniform or clothing were you wearing at the time of this incident?
Black t-shirt, gray pants, blue and white shoes, a hat and underwear, and then a tank vest. I don't remember what tank vest was issued to us with the hard plates.
Is it said police on that?
That's very bad.
Tank vest with hard plates?
Yes. Radio to the.
Is the police, is it like a Velcro, like, or is it in the vest?
Yes,
You said blue and white shoes, correct, and then how do you have on that? Do you have the same uniform or clothing on normal? You said that. Because of the statutory requirements of KRS 15.520, I am obligated to advise you that this is a criminal investigation, not an administrative investigation. However, you are not the subject of this investigation. Knowing this, are you still willing to give us a statement at this time?
yes,
So we're here for the incident that occurred with the Officer involved shooting on Friday, March the 13th at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4. Your involvement in this incident.
yes. Starting the day we were asked by Sergeant Meany to assist with several points. The new unit, place-based investigations unit, they needed assistance. We all, whoever signed up for that, it was several CID detectives. When we got to the CID office, that's what we learned we had. And on the board, they had myself and other detectives on 3003 Springfield. One, Sergeant Manning, myself, Tony James, Mike Campbell, TCI, Miles Cosgrove, Britt Hanson, and Lieutenant Sean Hoover.
So did you all meet?
So we briefed at the office at 11 Thursday night, and then we met. We all rendezvoused behind the church. I'm not sure what church it was. We met back there. The event was staged. I mean, it was right. It was on command slate. Next one up, St. James Church. Church it was. We all met back there. We waited for. We were told not to go to Springfield until SWAT began to approach on the telephone. So I think it's around 12:15. We got the call that SWAT was in the area. And that's when we started moving. We all drove separate up there. I think there's only 5 cars. Maybe somebody might have jumped in somebody. I drove myself, started running himself. Brett had things alone. And we just caravaned in Springfield, followed. Sergeant Manning was the lead car going in. We all stopped short of the target house. I was the ram. I was the equalizer ram. They didn't answer the door. Tactically approached the apartment from the sidewalk. Once we got down to the door, I knocked several times, announced the police. I knocked and started around the keys. I was on the, if you're looking at the door, I was to the right of it, closest to the door handle, just in case they had a breacher. John was on the opposite side, so we both knocked, and he knocks on us, the neighbor came out and told us we were gonna, leave the door alone or something, but I was too busy trying to get the attention, because I could hear somebody inside.
What's there?
Somebody upstairs.
Oh, upstairs, where you heard the bubble?
Yeah, I never even took my eyes off this door. I just know that whoever, I think Sean made contact with him and said, please go back inside. He didn't. I guess he ended up going back inside. Once they quit contact with him, because it was good, I would say 1 or 2 minutes of me knocking on the door saying police, and I could hear somebody inside kept talking. I could hear her. And we knew who the target was. I didn't believe who the target was. And we were told it should be a problem. It's supposed to be her and her kid, maybe a small child there. So that's why we decided tonight. It was a no-knock warrant, but we wanted to give time just because we know it's important for the kids. And, you can hear movement, but there's no answer. So John and I decided, let's go ahead and hit it. John hit the door, I announced police several times. The first hit, I hit the door handle. The second hit, I tried to go partially open, it was still connected to the frame. The third hit, I knocked it clear off the frame. As soon as I hit the door, I went across the threshold, and I couldn't see it was pitch black.
You did?
You know, I hit the door, I went in.
Okay, so then your inertia kind of brought you in?
Yeah, so the door went, so when I went in, it was pitch black, but, you know, when you're in the ramp, you get out of the way, so I hit it, and then I shot back out over this wall, and the next thing I see jumped it over. I didn't hear anything, I just looked, and he screamed, he just looked at me, and shot. You know, he was a guy, he was a shot or something, and he went down, and I could see blood immediately, just coming out the leg. And then, yeah, I think he took a couple more shots. He was aiming something in the door, and he took a couple more shots inside. Trying to get out there. There was a staircase that was coming down, and I had to ram, because it had, so I mean, immediately when that door opened, the shot came out. Like, as soon as it got out of the way, I was like, he got hit. And, I've been there before, so it was like I was stuck in mud. I tried to, like, I turned around and tried to take off, and there was a satellite. I think there's a satellite right there on the bottom underneath the steps. And I was trying to get away because all I heard was gunfire. I had no idea if it was coming. I don't know who was shooting. I thought somebody was inside just letting it out through the door, and I kind of didn't want to turn around and see everybody getting shot because they were just stuck in the corner. There was no exit for them. And, when I turned, I was on my knees. I ran right into that satellite, and then there was a break, and the break happened, and everything was turned off. I ran into the parking lot, jumped out, right there, he fell. I remember him falling. He drug into the other side of the car that was in the parking lot. There was I think it was a Toyota Sequoia. He drug him from the other side, and I'd taken his radio, or somebody's radio. I had two radios in my hand. One was on SWAT, and one that we had put on channel 2. I don't know what's going on channel, so I was just trying to get some attention, and see nobody was answering the radio. And, Joe was talking, and, you know, he would like stare off, and I'd be over there hitting him, talk to him, and he kept saying something. And he was being John. He was like, I think he said something, man, it's funny, when Breonna got shot, he sold his house, and I sold my house today too. I'm like, don't worry about that. You'll be all right. Sean, I guess I thought that they had put a tourniquet on him. They did, but John said it's not tight enough, so I got down there and grabbed it. There was Tony James and Sean Hoover, and I was on the radio. I was telling him to leave home Nikki because he was like, he was on his phone. I was trying to get home Nikki, but later, when they were working his leg, and he said it's not tight enough, so I took it from Sean. And I was pulling him. I was like, man, this is an old ass tourniquet. This ain't anything you have. Well, it ended up being Sean's bed. It was all like silvery. So I just went in the third vision. I showed up. He started the gate. Once I saw him, I was trying to get his attention to screaming at him during the day. And when it was pretty good. He ran that day, and so I started getting out of here. I thought it was going to be a police car, but the guy showed up. He had no room. He had some equipment that he needed. Told me he had his time to get a quick clock patch, and his Costco's car was right there. So I said let's go in the back seat. I put it in the trunk. I put it on top of the trunk. I got in the driver's seat on his car. Sean and Miles or somebody picked John up in the trunk, and I dropped down to the broken gate. Sean was right in the car. Sean picked him up. Walking from the gate there this morning, and I got in the truck and followed them. Well, just right to the hospital.
Can we go through this back? So I'm just gonna draw this out, so I'm gonna make sure I'm just gonna draw the, we'll call this. So, right. This is apartment 3, 2. There's another there too. So you're standing, if you're looking at the door, you're standing to the right. Is John standing on the side of the side? Is there anyone behind John?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. You're making this look like a lot of room.
It's not, no, it's about 20 feet.
It seemed like it wasn't much wider than this one.
It's wider, but it's about 20 feet.
But we got my cameras. That's the truth. There was a lot of men.
Right. Was there anyone behind you? No, so you were on this side by yourself. So Stacker would have been on John's side.
And Brett was back here because like after the second hit, he was like, get that door open. Because I remember being right there. But John, Miles, and Tony was close. Because Tony had that shield.
And
Hoover and Brett and Noel back here because they were contacting this guy.
okay, but they would have been standing like,
Well,
right?
Yeah, but we didn't exactly like, okay, guys, get lined up. We're gonna hit it. It was after Sean and got that guy. Because that guy had some words, I guess. He got upset. You weren't talking about that or something like that. You're gonna start.
So was Campbell behind anything? Was he a bird behind?
You said Tony had the shoe.
So,
But like honestly, I didn't go around and see the line. I just knew when I looked up, when I hit it, that door opened. As soon as that door flew open, as that John got ready to go in, I just remember bending on. It was like a quick shot, and he looked up, saw shooting.
so you watching her across the threshold, other than like initially maybe some of your arm, like your arm went around because of the land.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see the dark, and I heard like a female say something, you know, it was like, I don't know, I could definitely what she said.
But you heard a female say.
I heard a female inside before we hit the door.
Do you remember what she said to your conversation?
And then it's just like, it's her female voice, because I told John, it's not here, so like, I was wondering if she was coming to like the people, looking at the
So, apparently, you know, after it happens, clearly you're not gonna take, account of everybody's position, that, at some point that he described their feet flutter in mud and they're trying to get away.
with the staircase right here.
Right, the staircase, so you had to,
So when I turned around, like to get the hell out of there, I ran straight into, I think there was like a DirecTV thing right here. I remember running into it, and there was a little bitty moment of no shots. So here's kind of the middle, and it all started up again. And 2 years from my last one, I had rounds going off over my head, and you just think that I had no idea, just like the last one I did, I'm thinking somebody got in trouble, just start going at you. When I was turned around, laying on the ground trying to get away, I had no idea what was inside the apartment. So I'm thinking, oh shit, I didn't even turn around to look at the guys because I know what kind of position we were in.
right,
Being in there. Somebody in the darkest apartment just let it out and lit the doorway. And that's all I thought about. And I kept hearing voices, and I don't know what was coming on. It just felt like they were coming right at us. But it was probably the background. It was loud.
so, you fall over some stuff that's under the stairway and you get out.
Yeah.
And then you get out to the parking lot. You all take cover behind that white clothes.
Well, we helped John. So we got out there, and it was on the radio. And Mike followed in between 2 cars.
Who evacuated John from there?
He
did.
he went down, then he got back up,
Okay.
and it was like hollow, and Mike took off and fell between 2 cars. John didn't see his dog.
From the moment John got up and got out of that bad area there, were there any more shots?
Okay. From John being right there,
No, so John shot, John returns
we
fire.
all left.
Okay, there's no more shots from that point. From John is evacuated, when he does it himself,
Yeah.
he gets out
We
of
all
the
are.
okay, there were no more shots.
It seemed like all of it, like it had, like I'm under here, you look back and you see like everybody's like hugging this wall. They're like getting the closest corner right here. And I see John take the feet, he gets down, and also I'm gonna take the front from him when he stand up and got shot. Because he got shot, that's when he comes over, he just, bam. And it's like, bam. And down. And he's like, man, I can't sit there, because he was right from the door. Right. So he started shooting toward this wall.
Right.
And then he got back up. But while he was doing that, there was shot, I couldn't tell who was shooting, but there was shots going off. And when he stood up, I was looking at him, on his leg, and everybody started running.
Was the shield ever used?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So you described a break in the shooting. So John shots, like you just said, and then you clearly see him return fire, which, obviously he's a shot, he's trying to get out. I mean, I would definitely say that. And there's multiple shots, and then there's a break. And then you hear more shots, and you think that,
Yeah, I think
being shot at?
Yeah, they were being shot at.
And so you could see now at that point, you know, it was shooting from that.
No, I don't know. Everybody had their guns. Everybody had their guns out. He had the I focused on John. I did see Mama shooting, but I was focused on John because, like I said, that was happening. I was actually made or replaced like that. There was some shit that I didn't see, and he was shot. I wanted to go over to grab him, but then he just got up. And when he got up, it started, it was over. Like, we all like ran out. I just know that we were going for a car, and he was running pretty good, and he was off. But I ran to the left of the car, and I see him, and he just like disappears between the two cars. And I go down, can't wait to follow between two cars. So I'm trying to see him. John tripped over. So,
well, you remember the two cars that was?
I remember the tour quick.
Was it directly, like if you're running out at that little U, was it directly in the front wheel? Okay, all right.
Because I just really like those or whatever color it is.
Is it double parked? I want to go back to when you guys were knocking. So you said you knocked several times, and then Maddie was also knocking several times.
Yeah, driving that both.
How long do you think in between each set of knocks most time?
I mean, it began as a knock, police. Not waiting for who is it. I can hear somebody like, hey, can you please open us, please?
Someone said, who is it? Who's up?
No, I'm talking, so I just figured I was gonna make some contact. They can hear me. And,
So every time you knock.
every time I knock, I say police. It's police, I'm gonna please, because I've been impression there was a female and her kid. And that's when the guy came out and started saying, she's a good kid, leave her alone, all that, and that's when Brett and Sean talked to that guy, and he started, they knew to talk to me that way, because they told me to get back in the house. Because the guy didn't tell me to get back in the house. While they were doing that, I was still knocking. Still right at the door. Once the guy in, I said, all right, let's go. Okay. But reached in, hit it, boom, boom, boom. Police with a warrant. Hit it. First hit was on the door, and after the third hit, flew off. So
So how long did it take you guys were standing there before you started hitting with the ram?
couple minutes.
Did you get the intel that there was supposed to be a female or child, the kid? Did you get that from
The brief.
the brief?
So, this year, easy. So, I'll never let that be said again.
So after you guys get out of the parking lot, you got John, and you're trying to get a target on him, and get him in a position, as I understand it, you want to put him on that silver Nissan Altima, 2 miles an hour. You drive him to a safe place where he can get evacuated down. Do you return back to the scene just to get your car?
I ran up the opposite sidewalk, so I left the Altima down there, because Sean grabbed me and just ran out that over the fence. And we were pretty good, still good care, because that fence wasn't ripped all the way down.
Right.
And, Sean grabbed him, told him, got him over the fence, dropped him on a bed. And, I said, Tony, you grab John. I said, Tony, you grab John. I'll follow. So we go back up, I ran the sidewalk.
And Tony,
The right side of the sidewalk.
so the EMS is already there?
Yeah, we had to call back.
Right.
Because we had EMS to stand by. So that was the whole thing, like, where the hell is EMS at? Because we had no idea where they were. We thought they were on our channel. And it took them forever. And they came in the route to where that gate was busted.
Right.
And they couldn't get through it. So the passenger, the EMT passenger got out and was running up. Well, while he was running up, we already had him on the trunk. So he met us about halfway. And he ended up running behind the runners. These fellas, when you get down, the EMS package got off. Then we'll go back up, come around. And when they get on the radio, tell them to come back. And John's really good. Until it says to come back. Finally, they did. I mean, like a minute. He went up 300-400 yards and figured it out. We were back down there.
Did you load it?
I got out of Miles' car and I ran up the opposite side of the parking lot. Yeah. On the right side. And this side of the sidewalk. Went straight up out of my truck. And then wagon pulled out. Is this an English truck? Yeah, man. I waited. There's all kinds of cars. I was waiting for him to finally pull out. And I was in front of him, so he was going to be leaving. And then I was following him.
When you were running back to your truck, did you happen to notice anyone saying? Did you see anybody? Did you hear anybody?
I ran with my body underneath it. That's control the air.
On the sidewalk?
Yeah, I ran by someone. I ran by one of us that was posted up over a car. I couldn't tell you who it was.
Okay.
I was running up saying, shoot. Hauling ass. It is in trouble.
At that point, did you only know that manually and Cosgrove fire warnings?
No, I don't, it's fine.
Well, I mean, but you said you saw John fire, you saw Miles.
I saw
But
Miles.
as far as you knew at that point, you didn't know anybody else. Okay. So you get out of the hospital. Who's down there with you? So it's you, Tony, obviously Natalie. That's it. Right.
Health and safety officer there. Kevin, could call me. I had a down. We were really upset. And I think it was good spirits, but still, it was pumping blood. Bad. We said when that kid came in and it was sort of did that. So, but we're still good. Talked to a couple of detectives.
I gotta go back, make sure we got covered. The only people who were on the scene before, and during, you guys were serving on, I think the serving was you, Sergeant Mayor, Hospital, Tony James, Detective Brett Atkinson, and Mike Campbell. No one else. And to your understanding that, based off the briefing, is that there's a female with potentially a small child in there. Yeah, I heard people say that they consider it a soft target location.
Yeah, we were told that it is in the report. There for the suspect, possible source double the money that that's packages. And there's like, obviously, don't know what they're. Benefits.
So Campbell was the guy, so how long was he there?
Hours.
And did he ever relay any kind of information that he saw anything, any kind of movement, maybe like how he going?
If he did, I didn't get my radio. I didn't get my radio on until we got to the truck.
Were you surprised, well, was everyone surprised when they went to come up and make an entry, that there was a white SUV parked? Or was that? Was there any talk about maybe did it break down as far as like communication or whatever? Because I'm also been told that you want to clear that SUV before.
I did, I mean, that's just what we do.
Right. Right.
That's what, see if anybody's in it, maybe see some big take time on the tag or anything, because we weren't really briefed on a male in there, because the suspect was definitely not seen in it, because they knew he was in it.
Right.
There's just no reason to do it.
Is there anything that we haven't cashed in that you think is important to know?
Certainly was set the record for the weekend. And then you tell me the truth of this, you're not. What the statement time is.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay. Yes.
So in the conflict, on the main suspect,
Now, we thought, they heard the main suspect. Okay. Elliot, that was another one. For his briefing report, he just told us that, keep out and put on there and,
Just like the jail. It's the people. You.
Okay, our next interview we're going over is Detective Tony James. I could designate you in our location in Frankfurt on September the 11th.
This is Detective Jeff Hall with the Attorney General's Office. It is September 11th, 2020 at 2:54 p.m. We're speaking with Tony James, also present in the room is his attorney, Evan Spalding, and Assistant Attorney General Mark Brill. Detective James, you say you spell your first name, please?
Sure. Anthony, A-N-T-H-O-N-Y. Last name is James, J-A-M-E-S.
And Detective James, how long have you been on Little Metro Police Department?
Approximately 20 years. October will be 20.
And what, as of March this year, what was your assignment?
I was in the federal area for the narcotics team.
How long have you been in that assignment?
I went back to that, I guess I've been there, maybe around 2 years. I've been back there, I've been there before.
Who was your supervisor?
Sergeant.
Okay, on the night of March 13th, assigned to execute a search warrant at 2003 Springfield, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who all was on that, some of this may be redundant, but who all was assigned on that particular duty, that night?
From what I understood, from what I saw, it was building there was myself, Sergeant Manning, Lieutenant Hooper, Miles, Detective Cosgrove, Detective Henderson, and Detective, Mike Campbell, I believe.
What was your role when on executing that warrant at the department? What was your role?
I was just, inside with everybody.
Well, good, the staff manager. Did you carry the field?
Yes, I did.
Bunker, as you call it, in your,
Yes.
in your other interview?
Yes.
Okay, what happened, what was the staff, how was the staff formed? I'm familiar with police, but what do you break down for us?
Sergeant Manning was, the VO officer when he was in first. I was to his left, by the door. Then I think behind him was, I think Lieutenant Hoover was right behind him. And then I believe behind him was, Detective Cosgrove, and I think Detective Hankinson, and then Detective Campbell.
Who had the ring?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, Detective, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was who read the transcript of the review?
Yes,
Yeah, you,
I forgot.
and we're going to go time to a little detail on specifics, because I know that was the main night, so. So I kind of got some of the names.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I think those he had them.
Yes, he did.
So, what time did you all arrive? Approximately.
I honestly, I'm thinking like right around 12:30 or so, maybe.
But when you get there, and you all stand back there before, what was the lighting in the hallway and the foyer area, was the lights on?
Yeah.
Operational? Okay, was everybody wearing carrying flashlight, operational flashlight?
A little bit more.
On that shield, we'll go to the shield later, but we look like stuff on the shield.
So not all the time, though.
Okay, so, Sergeant Manless first. I assume you take a normal off the side, he's got, the other side, he's got correct. Okay, so, hit the door. How many times did it take you to go ahead?
I would say, well, before the door was hit, I mean, we were announcing police, search warrant, police. I know I said it several times. I mean, I heard other people doing the same as well. I want to say maybe 2 to 3 hits. I can't 100% say.
Okay, in your opinion, you had said something to the effect that someone upstairs, civilian, and commented that you all.
That's when we were walking up, and we got in, and where I was positioned, can I reference that? Yeah, can I reference that? Do you care?
No, look at it. You're trying to put that to the side of me.
This one computer here, when we came in, I was only back, going back to school on the computer.
Okay.
As far back as I could get back in there. And then when the stop, it was like right here coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, before we were announcing, police, and I believe Tom did not, was getting ready to knock, or maybe he already knocked a couple times, I think he already knocked. When somebody from upstairs, and I never saw the guy, because I was all over there, all I could do was hear him, said, hey, what y'all doing? Quit messing with that girl, leave that girl alone, something to that effect. And then, also back here at the rest of the guy.
You know which officers did? Like, you know, who they are, but can you tell who's speaking with it?
I know Detective Hankinson said something to the guy there.
Okay.
And I think somebody else said something to police or whatever. And we all had our best on with the police, the best all had police all over there. And we all had to look and see It's all the same.
So you got here, there's no here?
No, this is on, let me show you on this one, I'm sorry. No, this is on this here, you got it here. I'm on that side, and I'm actually kind of covered down on these doors here, because I don't know if they're through the flow, I don't know if they're connected to this, I don't know. I'm not, I have no idea. So I'm watching this, and one reason I'm watching this too is, when you're knocking at an ass, a lot of times, especially in apartments, you'll have other people open the doors, because they just hear knocking, and so a lot of times, in the past, I've been able to go, somebody else, I'm like, hey, please, we're good, please go back inside, and get dressed on the floor. And so that was one of the things, because I was kind of praying back into this, like with my back against this wall, basically. And then, looking at,
Okay, so right here, I go back to line.
yeah,
When you're here, you're over here,
yes,
over here.
yes.
Yeah, it's what I'm cars and then,
I it was like, and there was lights way upstairs.
and was everybody wearing something, please, see,
Oh, everybody did timeless, and I was all,
okay, were you used to that night?
yes.
Did you get on that?
I did it, they called, I did not know that it did not. But it was ready to go, ready to go. I did.
Wow.
Okay. So, no business with you guys, your office,
Yes.
then, now let me work from the town, traffic plan, but please do this again. The door is there.
Door was, detective manually, our sergeant manually is just right at the door. I keep my hand on the foot at the threshold.
Like, something. Was there a light on here in this hall? Lights on?
I don't remember, because honestly, from my vantage point right here, all I can see, like if you take that door, all I can see is like that field of view, like just a little bit of field of view. And I don't know if there's, I couldn't really, it was so dark that I couldn't see anything other than that right now.
Door was open, man, see some yellow plates?
Yeah, police are torn and I've got a very loud, grasping voice, and when I'm yelling loud, you're gonna hear it. And I, oftentimes, not just do I yell at that door, I'll yell to this door to let everybody know, it's the police, it's the search warrant. So I'm yelling back here, yelling at that door, yelling back here, and he steps in, and as soon as he steps in, I hear gun fire.
Okay. So, did you hear any voices from inside the apartment?
Saying, no, I didn't really, I think, I remember hearing, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was jump, Sergeant Manley, or if it was, no one's said he heard something about the door, or somebody about the door. I thought he said I heard a woman or something like that, but I can't 100% right.
So, Dolphins, hearing shots.
Yes. And then, John returns fire.
Okay, so this is what the definitely given.
Okay.
Is John in he stepped into the apartment, did he get shot? Does he have put in?
No, it literally is, to my recollection, he might have a foot right there.
So once the shot goes off, where's the normal West End?
When I saw him at the end, he was all the way back underneath here, in a crouched position underneath the steps.
Okay. So no back up, the ball a little bit,
Yes.
does Manley step back, does he go down,
No, he returns fire, goes back, and I don't know if that was the time he's like, I'm hit, and then goes,
stop right there. We're trying to get the breakdown of what everybody, and I don't talk about it. So, who's right behind Manley in this thing?
I believe it was Lieutenant Cooper.
We were gonna do it.
I don't know, I think he was, I know because I know when Sergeant Manley made his way back, and as he was going, I know that I saw Lieutenant Hoover right here beside him.
So who did the man do?
I think it was me, because he take the cross-position.
What does he do?
Apparently he steps up, but I don't really see him do that because what I see is John's going back, John's now on the ground.
So you watching him or you watching the force?
I completely like tunnel vision on John because I knew, honest to God, I thought he was hit. I thought he was hit. Because when that first round came, it was intensely loud. It was loud to the point that I thought it was some kind of assault. Truthfully, it just echoed.
You saw Natalie return fire.
Yes,
Where was he? You return fire, and what was he doing?
he was right here at this door. No, he was just standing there.
Return fire.
Returning fire.
And where was, at that point, you were still in the
I'm still
Okay. So, we don't know what Paul did, and it's you. You're not packing.
no, I'm still was.
Okay. Back up. Get started. Let's go through calls. Where's your take the
He's like back here in the stack back here. He's in the end back in here, like I heard before, detective came.
Right. Okay, so you're focusing on, John, talking
Sergeant Man goes, he goes down.
Now, you don't say I'm bruising, you know, go where?
Well, yeah, he's kind of in between, but he's scooting himself back, trying to get back. And he's back, a little bit further back from the doorway. And that's when he's still returning fire. And I see him returning fire, just scooting back. And I bent down and I wanted to get the shield in between him and that, where those rounds are coming out of my perception of where the danger is. So as I'm trying to go down before he's, finished returning fire, I go to go down and I'm like, he's gonna shoot me in the head, returning fire if I get down there, or they're gonna shoot me. So I couldn't really get to him, so I don't know if I posted about it, I did, and I was trying to grab him to yank him to me.
You're still on here, right?
I'm on the corner the entire time. This entire time I'm working this corner.
Well, this is going on. You decide whether to pick up man.
Right.
Is there any other officer shooting, turning fire this time?
And this time I could not tell you, all I can tell you is I saw Sergeant Manley and my whole focus was on him. I'm hearing, when I'm in the auditory, I'm hearing gunshots, but I couldn't tell you who was returning fire at that time. All I could tell you was John was there and I saw the blood going out of his eye.
Okay. So, at some point, somebody comes in and shoots into one of the officers, right? Shoots into the apartment. And who do you think?
Well, later on I figured out that it was the positive, but I couldn't tell you 100%. I saw him move it up, but I couldn't tell you 100%.
Well, very clear, you saw the same.
Yes, and I
Okay, Ben and I know, again, I understand you stress and what in your mind thought was hanging in the head.
well, I saw Dickinson kind of move up when that happened. I think,
Are you still in front of the back?
oh yeah, and I think everybody was kind of, north and hoping everybody's in motion to go, and boom, it happens. And they're, repositioning out of the fire station. And I don't know if he came up and shot there, or what. Like I said, I saw just a brief of the stack. He goes down, I started doing.
Can you say specifically, did you see Detective Cosgrove or Detective, you found out things later, right?
No.
Did you see that this Cosgrove or Hankinson actually shoot?
In the door.
Not really, I
Just heard.
heard rounds, I heard balls. Fire.
Okay, so let's continue on with it. So you got the full badly out to the corner, that's good.
Well, I never got a hold of him.
Okay.
I never got a hold of him, so all this is going on. I'm trying to get him. He scoots himself over away from me. I back up because the entire time with this, I don't know what this looks like inside. So I'm thinking any minute rounds are going to come through this drop and hit him. entire time, I'm just going back here. And then when he scoots over, it was like a group thing, they like grab him, he goes out and everybody starts moving. Who's in there? Everybody, I haven't seen you. I can't tell you, I don't know.
Did he get back up himself and walk?
Well, yeah, I think he had somebody to help him, I think he got up, and they were making their way. And honestly, I can't tell you exactly who all was with him. But there was nobody, it was the whole group moving.
So, did you put the turning light?
Yes, sir.
Was that was moved or?
Exactly, we got out, and they went back to him.
Okay, so after the move started around kind of away from the area, what's going on in the department?
Well, it's all like moving through motion, like they move, John Farmer's going on, John's moving, and then move John back, I'm in the corner, and the picture's kind of deceiving. I'm still tucked back in the back, and all I can see is that, and I moved further back, I'm probably more like right in this area maybe.
So you know, good department.
Yeah, and I can't see, I see a little bit more maybe.
You hear anything in the department? When they talk, when they scream it, anybody do anything?
I'm not hearing it. As they make their way, I was getting ready to go, and I'm like, man, I've got to wait to cover this threat. Because I know bullets are coming out there, I don't know how many.
Well, shots were going, so I showed up to your shoot.
I'm not hearing it just yet. I can't really recall that part of it, other than when they're making their move and they get close to the end of the sidewalk. That's when I'm like, I've got to go. I can't stay here. I don't know what's in here, and I've got to go, and I've got to get out there, because I knew I had to cover it, and I had to get to John. Because he said, I'm getting off the wall, I'm pretty sure. He's like, I think I'm getting off the wall, and I knew I had to. So that was what I was saying.
I'm trying to make time clear for that situation. But anytime, when you heard, after you had the first shot,
Mhm.
from inside the car, manually returned to first fire. There was other officers shooting, whoever they were. Was there a pause? Was it kind of continuous? Was it like a pause, then it started back up, or can you speak to that?
From what I can recall, it was like 3 consecutive, like, when it started, it just all kept going, like all kind of together, is what I remember. But it was like 3, like I could see, like in my hearing, I could hear like 3 times when we turning, you know, like,
So, was Colorado part of the bunch that moved and started managing back?
I think he was in with that group that all was in a Hoover. I know he was in Hoover, I saw him in a Hoover, and all of them, sorry.
Was Noble part of it, was he still out there with Mr.
You know, I can't really tell where it was. I think he was moving with everybody, but I can't.
So after some of the manuals moved back, you're kind of the only one there, I mean, still.
Well, I thought I moved out just a little bit, because I wanted to see where they were going with Sergeant Matt.
So, you literally, at some point, you decide you need to try to get to Sergeant Matt. Is somebody there still watching the front door? Did you yell at somebody, hey, no, watch the front door?
No, there was nobody, when I exited out, there was nobody there. I
When
just,
you exited there, you got to the part of the curb there. Did you start hearing still shots?
I thought I heard shots when I was running by the door. When I was running by the door is what I thought. I thought I heard shots by the door. The John was making, you know, they were all the way to the end of the sidewalk. But they were,
But then they told you to get there.
yeah. I thought I was hit. And I think what happened is during the whole meeting of all that, I think I ran into that door.
Okay, well, let's go to this.
Because I had pain in my eye.
So you're leaving here to get Mayor Lady.
Yes.
And where do you think you're at? You start kind of down to.
Well, honestly, I was by the door, and I was like, I can't stay here, and I said,
You lean on, maybe heard the hit shot, well, that's what the,
yeah, I had one.
you got here, so that here.
No, I was by that doorway somewhere in there. Somewhere in Motion, I can't tell you 100%.
So after you get to manually and you help the track on, when does everything quiet down completely? And you're like, I love it. How do you not leave? How far away from him were you, the apartment you about to turn?
Oh, probably 75
Good distance then.
Yeah, like, if you come after the parking lot, there's a sidewalk, the normal apartment, like a complex, and there's a parking lot, and then there's a walkway, and there was a car that was double parked back there, like a white car of some sort. I thought it was one of those, but it wasn't. But it's a white car. When I came out, I took a wide right because I knew that there was windows here. And I was afraid if I ran right past it, I could get shot in the back of the head. So I ran real far right, came back around, stopped, checked myself, because, like I said, I think I locked into the door from the beginning of it, and I just had a bad sort of clean my back, and I thought, I'm not gonna get it through this drywall or whatever, and I just now feel. But I checked myself, I was okay, and then I made my way to surgery. And they were all behind that white man, like behind the tire.
When was the last time you saw, before you left to go assist Sergeant Hayes? When was the last time you saw him take a paint?
He was, the last time I had a visual of him, he was covering the front of the building. Maybe from another car or from that white car. All I remember, I just,
You still in the stairwell?
no, I was behind, like if this is the car, this is the time. I'm working on John on this. He was right there. Take time. Do some more doing. He's laying there and he looks at me. And I think this is what I remember what you died. Yeah, no, I've been through it. We were trying to get the EMS right there, and the EMS people didn't come in our entrance. So when you look down that thing, there's a fence, and I'm in the fence. Can I see the EMS on that? No. You know, how are we gonna get it over?
Except when you try to do the fence somewhere.
Yeah, they run over it, an officer runs over it, and I go, and I'm trying to scoot it to get it lower, so we can get some magnet in that EMS right now.
Take a break, we'll take just a quick break so we can kind of do. Let's look back. I'm trying to, I know you can't, let's go concentrate back on, after things start happening. Best you can remember, take a second. What did, take the call or do the best you can, specific actions. So the best you can remember after the shooting, after the door was open.
I'm going to say, when I was working on John, he actually went and got his car and pulled it up here. I think his car was pulled up here, and we were just going to clear John's car and drive because he was forever. I mean, he was forever getting up there, and then to, quarter mile away.
What was that big before that? Because I know that was after we tried to get attention to John. There for a few seconds, moments.
I think they were covering the front, but I can't say for sure because I don't know.
Fun fact here is you really got in the back, which was before the back. You right. Kind of see that out leaving in time to.
Yeah, I like when I came out of there and I made my run over to the side. I was pretty far out there. I was probably, a basketball court, probably away from it.
Oh, that's what kind of put together the pieces What happened to you? Okay, not, because I know my, you know, I'm not keeping myself. Okay. So you there, door goes in, the shot comes out. Madeline fired a couple times, he's kind of staying back. You're kind of missed down. It's clear that, I mean, officers ahead of you have gone somewhere.
Yeah, they moved up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't,
You can't speak to specifically whether man.
I saw, like I said, I saw them moving up the heat and like where you're at was where I would consider to take a cut road. That was the last visual I had of him. And then man goes down, he scoots back, and that's it.
Well,
This is something focused on him.
this is something that, after I stepped in, told me what happened in minutes. Man goes down, he comes back to the side, that's his side. He goes, and takes back all that. You're here with the shield, you kind of hesitant to go to the side, I can't walk about that. People in that apartment. Is anybody, at this point, is anybody in training fire that you know specifically about the department? Maryland's all done.
I'm here.
You're kind of like, you see you watching
The
right
entire time, he goes down. I see the ticket cops are over and Hankinson right in that area. I see them moving up, and all I do is focus on him.
But you don't know at that point, if who shot through there or who they go through and stuff.
I don't know. I really don't.
What did you notice about his next hole, sir?
I don't even know if maybe I didn't see it out there when I was working on John Lane. I saw it out in the parking lot. And I didn't know that till later, I thought maybe they had fired out through those windows at us. I didn't know.
Did you did hear a break, and that's when you took the opportunity to cross over the door.
No, well, no, when I saw what keyed me to run and get with them was the fact that I saw that they had him pretty much almost to the parking lot. So that's when I took off.
Well, this is trying to go to your PID, and you can see your town hall story for the non-stop. So so look in here when you're talking about this way,
Okay.
and see what people always thought.
Okay, yes.
And then again, they went back over it with me at the very end.
Okay.
And again, he was,
I guess it was, but
let's find that at the very end. Let's see.
So, yeah, that's gonna be, okay.
Yeah, right here I sit, right here I sit, and they drink it in the corner, instead. And instead of going for a line of fire, we're going to phone the window, go out that way. I'm not running back there.
Yeah, so when you were running out, you had a chance to run out, you said the bottle stopped or whatever. And as you're running out, and maybe there was 5 tons, you're still in the fire.
No, the only time that I've heard the fire that I can remember, when I'm saying that is when I'm running in that hallway.
Is that when you kind of
Yes.
crouch down? So after you left, after you got made some distance away from the building, did you hear any shots?
I don't think it. I'll believe it.
And why did you make it out of time, just to avoid anything?
Because when I came out here, I knew all this was here, and I didn't want to go from that, so they could, shoot me. So I turned right and ran far out of the parking lot, and then came back to where they grabbed
And
me.
then Clinton started manning down on the bed.
Yes, sir.
And you went to the started manning, you went with him to the hospital, so you didn't go back to it.
Stayed with it. Kept doing stuff to me, and then they back in, that's why I mean, because the EMS guy was just kind of in shock. And so I had to take my vest off, and I started, he was still bleeding, he would return it. And, I got the guy to give me a bunch of calls, and I started wrapping his leg in goals.
Did anybody have a body camera on that, you know, that was at,
I don't know. I believe so, but I can't tell you for sure.
That was two things that you put back on. You said you don't believe that anybody else had one.
I don't believe it. I did, yeah.
Okay. In your recollection now, do you think there were 2 bottles, there was a break in the bottles?
No, I mean, it was,
Would you have had a better, think you would have remembered better on March 13th?
that night was my,
If you did tell them there was 2 bottles?
yes, ma'am. That's, I'll be real honest with you, I've had a lot of dreams and a lot of things going on. I'm not in any way trying to be dishonest or trying to be forthcoming.
And here's this last one I want to show you. So they were able to get the 2 bottles.
what do you mean, so bad?
Yeah.
That would be the most accurate.
And so continue to be back on the sidewalk.
I believe so. What people
If, page 30, on page 30, he was asked, put a time frame on the time between the follows, and he said seconds. On 30, 30. Generally, 30 would be almost like the time that we take to read the magazine, maybe. That's what he said, the time between the follows. And then on to line 13, 17, and it just continued all the way until I got to the other side of the sheet. Did you say you lifted the shield and had your own drawn? Okay, so if you kind of show about that.
And talking to the equation, you would be like this.
Okay.
And then, I mean, starting back was on the ground, I was trying to, I was wanting to get it landed down on our thing, but he was returning fire.
And that looks like the shield.
Yes.
So that's how you, the artist wants to, my previous life art was how the specs, architects, so, yeah, just, it goes.
I think we talked about everybody. Oh, you said Campbell was under the steps?
No, I believe that was, Detective Knuckles under the steps. He was at the end of the stop the last time I saw him. Honestly, as they were all going down,
At some point, I read somebody, manually said he's got trouble with somebody, or somebody.
I think that was out. Yeah, I think
Is it, was it, or no? Is it one of you guys, was that?
I think it actually was, Detective King, I think King had fell going running back. And I think that's where, Sergeant Patton hit it in ran over or something.
Mr. Paul? Anything else that might be, we kind of see where we're going with these questions, anything else maybe that might be relevant to what we're talking about? As far as timing, shots, and individual actions by the investigator, bringing the detectives to the, right. The scene's on here, the text in, it's now 15:33.
Any questions? Yes. But we don't have the transcript of this, but what he did say, he thought he activated it. He said he had it on his person, but he did not have it activated. He says he thought he activated it. And one note about the shield, there for a second, you can hear us kind of listen to how it works. That particular shield that we saw a picture of earlier, that vertical shield was up like it, and had like it was horizontal. It laid this way. The straps were kind of put your arm first, do this long.
This is very, every state, it was his son, it was every person. And it's just that we prefer when we have a shield.
I think he was saying, Campbell, was like, right here. He's here. Adam's here. He's here. Does he mention, he said that,
He's in Denver. Because he was tucked over in the corner, and then behind that is Hoover, and then Hagen's.
now, Paul, we don't have a transcript, I apologize, we don't have that.
And then they go.
And then the last one, was he the last one? From that?
Yeah, according to his statements, they, Sergeant Manley kind of stagnant his points approximately does here. They didn't, he ran over by the car for the white SUV we saw earlier. He decided, well, they were going to turn it. And at some point, he said, well, no one was under the stereo at some point, but I think no one was already done. It's not like the stereo. He, Nobles was over here. By the time Detective James leaves, he's already gone. Because he's over here helping tend to Sergeant Madden. Yeah, like I say, at some point it says Uber's back of the tank. So the exact positioning of these officers being detected, let's say everything you have per day. That is, which is not unusual. Something like that happens, so like that. Well, as a matter of practice, this is something that's in general. If no doctor or not, you got to search the premises. If there's officers, you have the right to do that. There's some ideal ways or better ways of doing things, I know we can do it. But at some point, they decide to be part. There may be a better different ways to do it, I don't know that, but legal search warrant, signed by the judge, they have right to search warrants.
You all have, another interview. We'll pull off the record, now, it's,